Chapter 132. Distribution of benefits. This was the most important issue. It was unknown how many teams had broken up and parted ways because of the distribution of benefits. Below, Wuxia duo looked surprised. Split? Why should we split? Everyone. Wuxia duo glared at them. Teams come out. All the rewards will be converted into contribution points. What's there to discuss? Do you want to eat more and take more? Long Yusheng, Wan Lixio, and the others. This was different from what they had imagined, at which team leader didn't take more? Otherwise, why would he be the team leader? Why? Did it become us who wanted to eat more and take more when it came to us? We're not the team leaders. Even Li Chenglong stared at Wuxia duo with wide eyes. Zua, you have to think carefully. This isn't something that can be done overnight, and it's not just one or two pieces. Captains can take a larger portion of the loot. This is the rule of the continent. In the future, we have to do more things, bigger things. A single point could be a sky-high price. You have to think carefully. What do we have to think about? Wuxia duo was puzzled. So what if it's the rule of the continent? Who can control me, Wuxia duo? Besides, what's the point of me taking more from you? Isn't it good for me to take more from others? The five of them. They were speechless. It's settled then. If one or two people come out, the rewards will be divided among themselves. If one comes out alone, the rewards will belong to the individual. There's no need to hand them over to the team. You don't have to say anything. This is how it is. Come, nod your heads. Li Chenglong, Yu Moyan, and the others looked at each other and could only nod silently. It might not be fair to Li Chenglong if we divide today's rewards equally, but this is a team. This is the basic principle of a team. Maybe other teams have other rules, but here it's the same. In the future, other members may contribute more in other aspects, but all the rewards will still be divided equally. There will be no exceptions. Wuxia duo said calmly, as long as the six of us go on a mission together, it will be like this. I've decided on this point. Who agrees and who disagrees? I agree. Everyone raised their hands in agreement at the same time. There were no objections. All right, I'll only talk about the distribution of benefits this time. Wuxia duo said coldly, I don't want to emphasize this point too many times. This is just an experience. In the future, everyone may go to the battlefield together. At that time, it won't just be about benefits but about life and death. Li Zhongming chuckled and said, I definitely agree with boss's decision. Li Chenglong was also filled with joy at this moment. There was also an indescribable sense of satisfaction. That's the way it is, it's the best. This was the first time he had used his knowledge to create benefits for the team. Li Chenglong was now bursting with a sense of accomplishment. His round face, which was not fat, was already smiling like a flower. Wan Lixio said worriedly, I'm worried that in the future, there will be people who don't put in effort. Oh, it's nothing. We can afford to drag this out. We're swollen. Wuxia duo waved his hand and said boldly, Stoer, don't worry about this. When you have a baby in the future, during your maternity leave, you won't be short of it. Wan Lixio was speechless. Her pink face turned red. Did I mean that? What? Maternity leave. Wuxia duo, do you want to die? After all, she was still a virgin. She couldn't help but feel embarrassed at the mention of this. Wuxia duo looked sad. Long Yusheng, control your wife. She actually asked boss if he wants to die. Such courage, tsk. I feel a deep sense of worry about your future status in the family. Long Yusheng curled his lips. Zua, my status in the family has already been decided. On the contrary, I'm very concerned about your status in the family. My status in the family. Wuxia duo laughed loudly. Do you still need to say it? I'm the proper head of the household. The first page of the household register in the future will definitely be me. Your future sister-in-law Nian. Ha 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 in. Must be in my household register. Boss is mighty. The crowd roared and then burst into laughter. It would be strange if you weren't the head of the household. Brothers. Wuxia duo waved his hand. How many contribution points are we aiming for today? 10,000. Oh, let's charge forward with this, boss. Oh. The small team of 6 people once again turned into a sharp arrow that was moving forward. Are you relieved? Seeing Qin Fengyang move to look at the other teams, another teacher teased him. Now I'm completely relieved. Qin Fengyang couldn't hide the amiable smile on his face anymore. First, it ensures fairness. Second, it ensures that there won't be any changes. Third, it ensures that as the core, Shuo Duo has absolute authority and can check and balance anyone in the team. If this doesn't make me completely relieved, what more can I ask for? To implement the equal distribution to the end, and to set the tone from then on can be said to be the most difficult thing. Another teacher said, in a team there will always be people who contribute more, and there will always be people who want to take more, especially the boss. It's the most normal thing to take more. And to implement the equal distribution from beginning to end, even for the team leader, no one will have any objections. Teacher Qin, didn't you always say that Shuo Duo is stingy? That teacher said strangely. This isn't something a stingy person would do. Qin Fengyang smiled contentedly and said, you haven't known him for long, so you don't know how stingy this child can be. However, no matter how stingy he is, he always has his own bottom line in his heart, and this bottom line is precisely the quality I think most highly of him. Let's go and look at the other teams. Shuoduo's team doesn't need to be looked after anymore. Do we really not need to look after them? After all, it's their first time out for training. Aren't we afraid of accidents? There won't be any accidents. Do you think Shuoduo's self-proclaimed physiognomy skill is just for show? If Shuoduo said that there will be no danger, then there will be no danger. From the beginning, I didn't worry that there would be accidents or casualties. I believe that after this training, Shuoduo won't need to recommend himself anymore. Countless people will come to him for fortune-telling, and those who come to him are not limited to the students of the second high school, but also you and me. Oh, Teacher Qin, you really think highly of this student of yours. Let's wait and see. Let reality speak for itself. After looking at several teams in a row, he finally saw Zhao Zhongjuan's team. His team was fighting with a star beast, and not far behind the star beast was a red jade spirit ginseng that had already borne fruit. The 6 people in Zhao Zhongjuan's team were very excited. They were shouting and fighting with their lives on the line. Obviously, they wanted to take down the star beast on the opposite side as soon as possible and get the red jade spirit ginseng. Qin Fengyang looked at them silently and sighed softly. 1 training session to get a red jade spirit ginseng. The profit is no less than 50 contribution points. It's indeed a lot. Another teacher sighed. However, they have to pay a bloody battle to get these 50 points. Compared with Shuoduo's team, the difference is too big. Qin Fengyang didn't say anything. He watched Zhao Zhongjun and the others kill the star beast before he breathed a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to leave, he heard Zhao Zhongjun, who had just finished the battle, shout to the sky, Teacher Qin, is Teacher Qin here? Qin Fengyang was stunned. Zhao Zhongjun wasn't in danger. He hurriedly floated down. Zhao Zhongjun. Zhao Zhongjun wiped his sweat and ran over. Teacher Qin. What's the matter? You'd better go and see Shen Tainan and the others. They seem to have gone straight inside. Zhao Zhongjun looked very worried. Who did you say? Shen Tainan. Qin Fengyang's pupils suddenly contracted. They also came for the training? Yesterday they clearly got double insurance and they still came. These 6 fucking immortals. Yes. Zhao Zhongjun looked at his teacher strangely. This time the whole class was going on the training mission together. How could Shen Tainan and the others not come? Qin Fengyang hurriedly asked. Hurry up and tell me, which direction did they go? North. Zhao Zhongjun said. Our team came early. We came in before 5 o'clock, but Shen Tainan and the others came even earlier than us. When we came, they were already sweeping the periphery. Then when they saw us coming, they rushed straight inside. And the area we are in now is almost beyond the alert area, but we haven't seen them yet. Zhao Zhongjun looked very worried. Shen Tainan has always been fond of grandiose achievements. He always wants to be in the limelight. This time, the harvest in the periphery obviously can't satisfy his set goal. I think he might have rushed into the deeper area. Qin Fengyang's face suddenly became as ugly as a dead man's. Looking at the dark wasteland in the distance, it was still morning. Dawn had just broken not long ago. At most, it was around 9 o'clock in the morning. It was the best time of the day. The sky was clear and boundless. However, in such good weather, there was a dark and gloomy atmosphere in front of them. Obviously, there were strong star beasts and extremely complicated terrain inside. Inside, even embryonic breathing realm and primordial elixir realm practitioners might not dare to go too deep. Shen Tainan and the others had actually barged into that level of area. At this moment, even with Qin Fengyang's mental strength, he couldn't help but feel his vision go black. Qin Fengyang never thought that for their sake, he didn't hesitate to lower his status and impersonate a robber to beat the 6 of them to a pulp. He even called their parents, but he still couldn't stop them from taking the risk. Just what kind of connections does your family have to be able to recover from such an injury in a single night? However, recovering to a perfect state was equivalent to activating the past to the stage of death. They were so lively even when they were going to die. Their status was so high. This was simply speechless. At this moment, Qin Fengyang didn't think of anything else. What echoed in his heart was what Swishaoduo had said yesterday afternoon. The king of hell is destined to die at midnight. Who can stay until midnight? The danger of life. The ominous central palace. The ominous chi has already entered the heart. The divination gold that he took away in the end was the real stroke of genius. It completely cut off the karma with me and has nothing to do with me anymore. Even if you chase after them now and break the legs of these 6 people to prevent them from going out tomorrow, they will still be walking to their deaths tomorrow. Do you believe me? Thinking of this, Qin Fengyang could only sigh. He was really speechless. He had forcefully intervened and had already broken their legs and suffered comminuted fractures. Today it was still happening. Thinking again about what Swishaoduo had said, Qin Fengyang couldn't help but sigh. It's really good words can't persuade a damned ghost. Chapter 133. The other teacher was puzzled. Teacher Qin, what are you? Qin Fengyang stood up. There's no time to explain. Come with me quickly. It's a matter of life and death. Do your best. What about here? It's fine here. Swishaoduo said that it's a close call. Qin Fengyang and the other teacher were like 2 sharp arrows, piercing into the thick fog without permission. A few hours later, Shen Tainan led his team and shot into the thick fog like an arrow. I didn't expect Zhao Zhongjun to be here so early. So what if he's early? He's a coward and only dared to wander around the periphery. What good things can he get? Boss Shen is right. Speaking of which, Boss Shen, your father is really awesome. Yesterday, with just a phone call, he got such a miraculous thing and used it directly. I still feel like I'm dreaming. Me too. It's unbelievable. With such a serious injury, it only took 10 minutes to recover completely. Moreover, his cultivation has improved. It's too miraculous. Especially since Boss's father solved it with just a phone call. I feel like I'm dreaming. Haha, my father's power in Phoenix City is. Haha, let's not talk about it. There's no point in always bragging about my father. But this is really awesome. Speaking of which, Qin Fengyang called my father yesterday and told us not to come out today. Haha, Teacher Qin is really good at thinking. He called my family too. And my family too. Haha, this teacher Qin Fengyang. I don't know what he's thinking. We rejected Swishaoduo's fortune-telling, and we're not even allowed to participate in the trial? He even informed our parents? Haha. It can't be, right? You guys are just muddle-headed. Why don't you think about it? Swishaoduo asked for 500 yuan each time. Who would look for him? Qin Fengyang asked for 50 yuan each time. That's a lot. How many times do we come out in a year? 50 yuan each time. 8 teams, 400 yuan. At least 7 or 8 times a month. In a year we'll earn tens of thousands. Qin Fengyang is clearly colluding with Swishaoduo to cheat us of our money. Boss is right. I have the same feeling. Not allowed to come out for the trial? Haha. Just like what my father said yesterday, a man has to face the wind and rain. An eagle has to fight against the sky. A sapling in a greenhouse can never grow into a big tree. So my father encouraged us to come out. Yes, Uncle Shen is right. Of course, why would my father listen to Qin Fengyang's nonsense? Just because he said so, he wouldn't come out? What a joke. Who the hell is Qin Fengyang? Yesterday, my dad even said that he wanted to treat Mr. Qin to a meal after this incident. After all, Qin Fengyang is obviously angry this time. No need. Shen Tainan scoffed, as long as you follow me, I will naturally lead you to heaven. As for Qin Fengyang, he's just an unpresentable fellow who cheats students of their money. Why bother with him? Boss is right. Boss is mighty. Death is certain. I don't believe it. Haha. Let's see what Qin Fengyang's face looks like when we return with a bountiful harvest. Smack 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 face, huh? The 6 of them rushed in. The fog became thicker and thicker. Slowly, it reached a point where they couldn't see each other's faces clearly even if they stood face to face. It was blurry, as if they had seen a ghost. Let's do it here. Our feet feel very solid. It's almost untouched. There must be a lot of good stuff here. Everyone hurry up. Shen Tainan said, we can't stay here for long. Let's move quickly. In 2 hours, no matter how much we get, we will leave. Okay. The 6 of them busied themselves. Not long after, cheers rang out. Even the thick fog was diluted. I have one here, it's so big. I have one here too. There's actually a stalk of white jade lingji here. This stone of astral souls is cold to the touch. We're rich, we're rich. The 6 of them made a lot of discoveries. Shen Tainan was sweating profusely as he dug a big hole. In this hole there was actually a millstone-sized stone of astral souls, and it was emitting spiritual energy. However, it seemed like he couldn't move such a big piece by himself. This piece must be something good. This time he was really rich. Shen Tainan dug out the soil around the stone, wiped his sweat, and was about to call for help. At this moment, pa. A hand? It rested on his shoulder, and it was actually very heavy. Don't mess around, quickly call for help. This piece is not small. There was no response. Snore, snore. Such a sound was heard, and a fishy smell followed. Snore, snore? Shen Tianan's body stiffened, and he slowly turned his head. He saw a huge tiger's head behind him, but this head was almost several times bigger than him. It opened its bloody mouth, revealing a bottomless esophagus, and its tongue swaying. When he turned his head, 2 lantern-sized eyeballs happened to meet his eyes. The beast behind him was obviously a little strange. It tilted its head with interest, and actually looked at the little guy under its paws with a somewhat cute look. What is this? Big eyes against small eyes. Shen Tainan immediately stiffened. At this moment his heart really stopped beating. The tiger also seemed to be startled, and its 2 big eyeballs were somewhat frozen. Screams of horror came from all around. Star Beast! There's a 3-tailed tiger. In the thick fog, more than 10 huge creatures slowly appeared. 3 tails swayed slowly, swaying here and there, very beautiful. Ah! Shen Tainan screamed from the bottom of his heart, Teacher Qin, save me. This was definitely the loudest he had ever screamed in his life. This shout seemed to have caused a great shock to the 3-tailed tiger, and its large eyes instantly widened to the size of saucers. With a howl, its bloody mouth fell down with a crack. Qin Fengyang and the other 2 searched for a full 50 kilometers, but they did not find anything. The beasts they saw along the way were already very strong, and had long exceeded the range of what martial masters could deal with. The further they searched, the worse Qin Fengyang's expression became, and it was as gloomy as water. You have students who entered here? Another teacher asked curiously. Didn't you say that they are not allowed to enter? Then he realized, of course, or the other student teams would be outside. But this one is disobedient? Qin Fengyang smiled bitterly. It's fine if he is disobedient, but I'm afraid. He is already dead. That can't be right. The other teacher also became worried, and the 2 of them quickened their pace again. After about 10 kilometers, a strong smell of blood suddenly assaulted their nostrils. The 2 of them followed the smell, and with a glance their expressions changed greatly. The empty space in front of them was a mess of flesh and blood. 7 to 8 beasts equivalent to human origin core realm cultivators, 3-tailed tigers, were chewing on something in the mouth of one of the 3-tailed tigers. A human head was spat out. The face could be vaguely seen, and it was Shen Tainan. On the bloodied face, there was a trace of residual fear. Bastard! Qin Fengyang was so angry that he exploded on the spot. The 2 of them drew their swords and stepped forward. The swift and fierce sword light swept out in succession. They killed 7 or 8 3-tailed tigers in less than a quarter of an hour. However, they couldn't find any of Shen Tianan's team members even after searching everywhere. When they cut open the stomach of the three-tailed tiger, they saw that it was full of pieces that had not been digested. Sigh. After a long time, Qin Fengyang let out a long sigh. Other than regret and pain, he was amazed by Zhou Xiaoduo's physiognomy. It's really fate. It's really fucking weird. Old Luo, do you know? Yesterday, I broke all 6 of their legs, and it was all to prevent them from participating in this training. After that, I even called their parents and told them that they could not participate in the training. In the end, they still came and all of them died here. Qin Fengyang's feelings were indescribable. As expected, it's hard to persuade a fucking ghost with kind words. Teacher Luo asked in puzzlement, I don't understand what you are saying. What else do you not understand? Do you still remember what Zhou Xiaoduo said at the school meeting? Did you not take what I said to heart? Of course I remember, but... Teacher Luo suddenly understood. You mean? That's right. Yesterday afternoon, because of the training today, I asked Zhou Xiaoduo to read the physiognomy of each team's leader. The other teams were fine and at most they were scared but not in danger. However, when he saw Shen Tianan's team, Zhou Xiaoduo said that this team would be in danger. But Shen Tainan didn't believe it. Qin Fengyang told him what had happened and said, because Zhou Xiaoduo's physiognomy was always right, and he never missed. To prevent any accidents, I deliberately went up and broke their legs while hiding my identity. I also called home and told them not to let them participate in the training, hoping that I could help them escape death. But how could they still come here? Why did they have to come to this place? Teacher Luo was shocked. It's true this. Suddenly, he said in shock, this was Xiaoduo, how could he read them so accurately? Qin Fengyang cleaned up the broken bodies of the students and said desolately, Zhou Xiaoduo once told me, Teacher Qin, even if you went up and broke their legs, it wouldn't affect their training. Sure enough. He said with infinite regret, I was wrong and I was wrong. I should have stopped them this morning and broken their legs. Sigh. Teacher Luo was speechless for a while. After a long time he finally said, Teacher Qin, you've already done your best. In terms of injuries, causing a comminuted fracture is already the limit. If you had really done it this morning, you wouldn't have been able to grasp the timing properly. You didn't even realize that they could still participate in the practical training, did you? Exactly. Qin Fengyang could only sigh. It's not a small accident this time, Wang Yao said. Teacher Luo was a little worried. He said, Teacher Qin, even if the school has a waiver and you have done what you should, you can have a clear conscience. But Shen Tianan's father is one of the richest people in Phoenix City. His son suddenly died, and he will definitely find trouble with you. Most likely you can't avoid it. Please vote. In the afternoon, the League Master will update. Chapter 134. Qin Fengyang said indifferently, it's nothing. I called Shen Yushu last night and he promised me that he wouldn't let his son go out to train. Now that something has happened, it won't be easy to find me again. As a teacher, I've already done my best and have a clear conscience. Teacher Luo smiled bitterly. The problem now is, will Shen Yushu reason with you after his son died? Qin Fengyang said indifferently, if he doesn't reason with you, I'll try my best to appease him. What if you can't appease him? If I can't appease him? Qin Fengyang looked helpless. Then I really can't do anything. After all, his son died when I was teaching. Teacher Luo saw that his roundabout reminder didn't work, so he went straight to the point. Teacher Qin, Shen Yushu has an underworld background in his early years. I heard that his hands are stained with blood. With the disclaimer in your phone call, he might not do anything to you on the surface, but his actions in the dark. Anyway, you have to be careful. Qin Fengyang was silent for a moment, then said indifferently, underworld background stained with blood. After so many years, I've almost forgotten that I killed a lot of people at the front line of Sun Moon Pass. I think there were more than 17,000 people, about this number. Qin Fengyang sighed softly. Shen Yushu's hands are stained with blood? But I don't know if it's as much as mine. Shda. Teacher Luo was completely stunned. This means why don't I understand? On the other side, Zhou Xiaoduo and the others were urging Li Chenglong to work. Swollen, come and look at this pile of shit. Swollen, there's another pile here. It's a bit dry. Swollen. Look at this pile. After the previous experience, everyone's enthusiasm was unprecedentedly high. Even a girl like Wuxia, who was known as a well-bred lady, was actually looking for shit everywhere. It was impossible not to admire this. After discovering the astral soul's intermittent grass, Li Chenglong had only walked 20 kilometers before he found clues in the feces of 2 types of astral beasts. Then, following the clues, he found an equally rare black blood vine. The main body of the dark blood vine didn't grow above the ground and only lived underground. There were only a few branches above the surface, making it extremely difficult to find. As for the contribution points gained from this wave, a conservative estimate would be more than 500 points. After finding the black blood vine, everyone's luck didn't decrease, and they found 3 more dragon ginsengs in a row. The series of gains made everyone's spirits rise, and their fighting spirits soared. There were many star beasts in this area. Their feces could be seen everywhere. This had also led to a lot of shouting and wrangling. Everyone was calling for Li Chenglong to look at their feces. Li Chenglong looked helpless. Not all feces have clues to follow. Most of them are worthless. There's no need to look at them all. Li Zhongming. This is clearly someone's poop. And you want me to take a look? Blur. When Li Xiu bent over and vomited, Zhuo was overjoyed. Let's move on. We've earned almost 2,000 contribution points now. Keep it up, brothers. Everyone moved forward for a while, and they were about to reach the edge of the cordon. Zhuo Xiaoduo looked at the gray fog in the distance, and a strange color flashed in his eyes. This was the result of the convergence of the aura-gazing technique and the physiognomy technique. With a glance, he could keenly observe that there were countless murderous auras in the gray fog. There were also countless souls wailing. First left, then right. Don't move forward. Zhuo Xiaoduo warned his teammates. Almost every few minutes, there would be a meteor shower crashing down from the sky. The entire land was trembling almost at any time. After moving forward for a few dozen meters, Li Chenglong's eyes were quick. Catch that snake with claws. In the grass between a few stones, there was a snake's tail quickly disappearing. Where are you going? Wanlixio was the closest to the snake. She took a big stride forward and grabbed the snake's tail in her hand. She used her strength to pull the snake out. Long Yuxing's eyebrows twitched. He suddenly lost some of his expectations for this life. That everyone took a closer look and saw that the snake had a vicious appearance. It actually had 6 claws. Even though it was being held, it was still struggling with all its might. Well, it was more like a strange lizard than a snake. It was just that its body was too slender. Although the snake's tail was caught, its body was still baring its fangs and brandishing its claws in the air. It kept twisting and struggling, and even tried to bite Wanlixio. Wanlixio flicked the finger of her other hand and hit the snake 7 inches. The strange snake immediately became obedient. Li Chenglong's eyes lit up. He said excitedly, "This is a 6-clawed snake, also known as the 6-clawed lizard of the Clear Flute Island. It's useless. This snake isn't a star beast yet. It's just a wild beast. However, if it eats a lot of 9-joint centipedes, it will have a chance to grow a 7th claw. At that time, it can condense a star core and become a star beast. This snake has no value now. It's useless and can't be exchanged for contribution points. However, the value of a 9-segmented centipede is not cheap. It never moves on the ground. As long as it is exposed to sunlight, it will die in a very short period of time. The 9-segmented centipede itself is an extremely rare medicinal ingredient. 1 kilogram of 9-segmented centipede can be exchanged for 200 contribution points. If you find a centipede that has evolved into a 10-segmented centipede, just one of them can be exchanged for 200 contribution points. If a 9-joint centipede wants to evolve to 10-joint centipedes, it needs the help of Yang Star Grass. Yang Star Grass is a legendary special medicinal material that can bring ordinary people back to life. Its value is even higher. Li Chenglong said, "The appearance of Yang Star Grass is no different from other weeds. It's impossible to distinguish it with the naked eye. However," Zhuo Xiaoduo smiled. "Chenglong, can you not keep us guessing? Just tell us what it is, okay?" Li Chenglong said angrily, "When you need me, you call me Chenglong. When you don't need me, you call me Swollen. How can I not call you Swollen?" Zhuoxiaoduo's face changed. Cut the crap. Just tell me the answer. Do you think I don't dare to teach you a lesson here? Li Chenglong immediately gave in. Actually, the method is very simple. Just use high temperature. Pull out this patch of grass and put it under the sun. After an hour, if it still doesn't wither and remains green, then it's the sun-returning grass. Ordinary weeds won't be able to last for that long. In other words, where there's a six-clawed snake, there might not necessarily be a nine-joint centipede. However, there must be young star grass near the nine-joint centipede's nest. Later, we'll lift all the rocks and see if there's a nine-joint centipede's nest. If there is, we'll probably make a fortune again. Zhuoxiaoduo laughed. Swollen, I was right to bring you along this time. Li Chenglong was embarrassed and angry. I've worked so hard. Can't I not call myself swollen? Swollen is good. Swollen is good. Swollen is good. The few of them exerted their strength together and lifted up the ground in this area. When it reached the edge of the gray fog, Zhuoxiaoduo exerted his strength and lifted up a few hundred feet of the ground. Immediately after, a large number of ferocious centipedes appeared and scurried around on the ground. However, as soon as they came into contact with light, their movements immediately became sluggish. After a while, they all lay on the ground and lost their vitality. After a while, the ground was covered with a dense pile of dead centipedes. There were no less than a few thousand of them. Nine-joint centipedes are afraid of sunlight. Sunlight can be said to be their death talisman. However, if they want to advance, they have to eat the sun-returning grass, which contains a lot of sunlight energy. Li Chenglong sighed. This is probably a manifestation of the law of nature's biological chain. It's really breathtaking. It's a wonder. There are still 3 moving over there. They're not dead yet. Wan Lixio's eyes were sharp. She pointed at the innermost area covered by shadows. Wan Lixio was a girl after all. Although she was not afraid of anything, when she saw thousands of disgusting insects, she still felt numb and goosebumps all over her body. However, humans were like this. When they didn't want to look, they couldn't look away. Now they accidentally found something that the others didn't notice. Li Chenglong was overjoyed when he saw it. Those are the 10-segment advanced centipedes. Quickly catch them. Oh right, be careful. A 10-joint advanced centipede is already a star beast. It has a certain degree of aggressiveness. Damn. There's an 11-joint one. Zhua, it's your turn now. Li Chenglong shouted excitedly and began to direct Zhua. Quickly, focus on that 11-joint one. You must be careful. Besides being an advanced star beast, this thing is also highly poisonous. When Zhuoxiaoduo heard that it was highly poisonous, he immediately changed his tactics. A white jade gourd flew over. With a crisp crack, the 11-joint centipede, which was already jade-textured, fell to the ground and rolled twice. Do you want it dead or alive? Don't want it alive. It's better if it's dead, but it's best to leave its torso intact. That thing is worth a lot of money. Before he finished speaking, a white jade button had already been precisely embedded into the large centipede's neck. The others didn't even see how Zhuoxiaoduo did it. Zhua's hidden weapons are getting better and better. Zhua is wise, benevolent, righteous, and wise. He will rule the world for thousands of years. Quickly pack up. There were thousands of 9-legged centipedes here. Li Chenglong stuffed a gunny sack to the brim. He weighed it in his hand. There are so many of them. 6 kilograms is enough. We're really rich this time. 1 kilogram is 200 yuan. 6 kilograms is 1,200 yuan. There are also the 3/10th section ones, which cost another 600 points. So the 11th section ones cost a whopping 2,000 contribution points. Holy shit, just the profits from these centipedes alone are close to 4,000 contribution points. Li Chenglong couldn't stay calm anymore. The rewards from today's mission were not just bountiful. Jane had really reaped a bountiful harvest. She had made a huge profit. Quickly, dig up the soil and start looking for the sun-returning grass. The 6 of them continued to be excited and worked in high spirits. Chapter 135. Soon, all the grass within a 2-kilometer radius was turned over and gathered in one place. It was currently noon. The sun was high in the sky, and the grass was pointing upwards. According to Li Chenglong's explanation, They would be able to distinguish it very soon. However, Zhou Xiaoduo was unhappy. After asking Li Chenglong for confirmation, he used the first layer of the Flaming Sun Sutra, Flaming Sun, to coordinate with him. In just a moment, the temperature of the surrounding area rose. In less than an hour, 99% of the grass that had been piled up like a mountain had withered. As most of the grass withered, the special green weeds that were originally hidden in the grass revealed themselves. These unique plants had lush green leaves and delicate white roots. They were not affected by the high temperature at all. This is the sun-returning grass. Legend has it that it has the ability to bring the dead back to life. Li Chenglong shouted, "Don't touch it. This thing needs to be stored in a wooden box. Don't use a jade box. The jade box is cold and will dilute the medicinal properties. If you don't prepare a wooden box, you can just take it from the surrounding tree stumps." Damn, there are 123 of them. Not bad, not bad. This thing is worth 20 contribution points each. These are worth another 2,400 contribution points. Li Chenglong was so excited that he was trembling. Zhou, we have almost 8,000 contribution points now. I've only heard that the rewards from the training were bountiful, and that getting rich overnight was nothing. I thought they were just exaggerating. Now that the truth is in front of us, it's really easy. Easy. Long Yuxing and Wan Lixio were speechless at Li Chenglong's words. They even wanted to look down on him. Everyone's gains this time were indeed amazing. They had not encountered any danger during the training so far. It could be described as easy. However, this easy was built on the fact that there was an abnormal person in the group. Which one of the martial arts students in the school did not complain about the difficulty of earning contribution points? They worked hard to dig up meteorites. There might not even be one jade of astral souls in 100 meteorites. Even if there was a jade of astral souls in 100 meteorites, there might not even be one jade of middle grade. Easy. It was not easy to find a spiritual herb that was about to mature. However, there was bound to be a vicious beast or a star beast guarding the herb. After a big battle, it was normal for the members to be covered in wounds. However, even if they were lucky enough to get 100 or so contribution points, they could count themselves lucky. Most of the time, they would only get a few dozen contribution points. Moreover, they were risking their lives. How could it be easy? Perhaps some people would say that what Li Chenglong said could be done by anyone. Take the sun-returning grass as an example. Everyone knew about the relationship between the 9-segment centipede and the sun-returning grass. What was so difficult about it? However, the real problem was that the 9-segment centipedes basically lived underground. They moved around silently, so who knew where they lived? As for the 6-clawed snake at the very beginning, it wasn't even an astral beast, yet it had become the key to this harvest. In the vast sea of knowledge, it seemed easy and inconspicuous to pick out a single piece of relationship. However, to be able to combine theory with reality at any time and any place, and to quickly come to a conclusion, that was a result that could only be achieved after mastering countless pieces of knowledge. This was an extraordinary ability that ordinary people did not even dare to think about. Easy. Aside from Li Chenglong, the other 5 secretly sighed in their hearts. If these words were heard by other martial masters or cultivators, even if they didn't kill him, they would imprison him and make him serve them for a lifetime until he died. Everyone turned to chopping trees to make wooden boxes. They were full of joy and did not feel tired at all. Zhou Xiaoduo was also about to move. However, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He stood up cautiously and looked around. He could not help but frown. When he looked at Li Chenglong and the others, his frown deepened. Their faces were covered in a layer of bad luck, which was rapidly gathering. Is this the reverse of luck? Are we going to be unlucky? Zhou Xiaoduo ordered everyone, don't move. Come back and form a triangular formation. Be careful of any accidents. Li Chenglong and the others were puzzled when they heard this. However, no one questioned it. They all retreated to Zhou Xiaoduo's side to be on guard. Wan Lixio frowned and said, "Boss, is there something wrong?" "I just felt upset." Came inexplicably, but it felt very real. Zhou Xiaoduo chuckled and said, "A girl's intuition is indeed more sensitive than rough men like us. Long Yuxing, your wife's intuition is so sensitive. I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to set up flags outside in the future." Long Yuxing's face turned red and he said, You're the one setting up flags outside. Seeing Zhuo Duo talking and laughing, the others calmed down a little. Seeing that Zhuo was still in the mood to joke, even if there was trouble it would not be too big. Whoosh! A saber appeared out of nowhere and fell from the sky. There was a red silk tied to the saber. The other party probably did not use much strength. The saber was stuck in the ground. Only half of the saber was in the ground. The remaining half was swaying gently. As the saber swayed, the red silk at the hilt swayed as well. It was extremely eye-catching. Ha 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 ha. With a loud laugh, three young men, emerged from the dense grass with a meaningful look on their faces. Very good. It's rare for you to find so many things that others can't find. You're talented. You're really talented. I admire you. The young man in the middle, in such a chaotic environment, was wearing a spotless white robe. He was waving a fan in his hand and said in a carefree manner, "Not bad, not bad. You're worthy of praise." Zhuo Duo narrowed his eyes and said, "If you have something to say it quickly. What do you want to do by disturbing us? Say it quickly. I don't have that much time to listen to your chatter." "Oh, I really didn't expect you to be so arrogant." The young man put away his folding fan and said with a faint smile, "The three of us are called the Three Young Masters of Fengcheng. We're quite famous. I believe you've heard of us before." The Three Young Masters of Fengcheng? Hearing this name, Li Chenglong and the others' faces darkened. The Three Young Masters of Fengcheng were students of No. 1 middle school. It was said that these three students came from very good families. Their fathers' and mothers' families had some power. The three of them were also very hard-working. They reached the Xiantian realm in their 20s. As a result, they were usually domineering in No. 1 middle school. Under the guise of students should solve their own problems. Teachers should not interfere. They did whatever they wanted in No. 1 middle school. How did they meet these three troublemakers here? Three Xiantian realm cultivators. For Li Chenglong, Zhuo Duo and the others, they could be said to be experts. "Say it. What do you want?" Zhuo Duo snorted. "The Three Young Masters of Fengcheng? It seems that they want to blackmail me. You've been busy for a long time. We won't ask too much. We want half of the sun-returning grass and the 9-segment centipedes." The young man opened his folding fan with a swoosh and slowly waved it. "The three of us will accept your kind intentions. I'm Tung Hao. Thank you for your kindness." Wan Lixio was so angry that her face turned red. "Who said I'm giving it to you? You're so thick-skinned. Not giving it to me? It's best if you don't give it to me." Tung Hao smiled maliciously and said, "I was hoping you wouldn't give it to me." Zhuo Duo looked at Li Chenglong and the others. The bad luck was still gathering. His heart suddenly moved and his brows furrowed. Could it be that these three people were not the source of the bad luck? Then, there were other dangers. I must end this quickly. Thinking of this, Zhuo Duo suddenly raised his head and laughed heartily. "Teacher Qin will solve this problem ourselves." Then he took 3 big steps forward. "Since you've made up your mind, let's cut the crap. It's impossible for you to take away our benefits with empty words. Let's fight. Come and fight with me. If you win, you can take all the benefits here. If you lose, don't blame us for being stingy. Come, come, come. You're Tung Hao, right? Come, come. Let Grandpa's will weigh you." Tung Hao was disturbed by the way he called out Teacher Qin. Was there a teacher nearby? Didn't he say there wasn't? He couldn't help but show a dignified expression. "You?" "Yes, it's me." Zhuo Duo carried his big knife and looked very powerful. "With this axe of yours." "Bah, this is a knife." Zhuo Duo was furious. He took a big step forward and smashed his axe down. "If you want to rob, then rob. If you want to fight, then fight. Why are you nagging endlessly? Can't you show some respect for your profession? You're a robber, not a mouthpiece." Tung Hao raised his foot and the saber on the ground returned to his hand. Without dodging, Tung Hao met the saber head-on. The 2 sabers collided and a loud bang was heard. Tung Hao chuckled and said, "Since you don't want face, I will let you know what it means to be a Xiantian warrior." He was secretly shocked. This guy's knife is so heavy. Noisy. Zhuo Duo turned over and smashed his big axe. Oh, his big knife again. After all, Tung Hao had already reached the Xiantian realm, and his strength was much stronger than Zhuo was. Moreover, Tung Hao didn't have any tricks up his sleeves. Duo only felt a tightness in his chest as he was sent flying 30 feet away from the impact of the collision. Long Yuxing and the others came to help. Duo shouted, "Don't worry about me. Pay attention to your surroundings. Danger is coming." As he spoke, he once again leaped into the air without stopping. Suddenly, a blazing light bloomed in the air along with his saber. It was impossible not to use the flaming sun scripture. At this moment he was like a sun that suddenly fell from the sky. Tung Hao hadn't even landed on the ground yet, but the heat wave had already enveloped him. Even the air within the radius of the heat wave was burned up, making it difficult to breathe. Tung Hao was shocked. Without thinking, he let out a roar and attacked with all his strength, launching a fierce counterattack. With another loud bang, Duo was sent flying 10 feet into the air. He even spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Tung Hao didn't have it easy either. Although his cultivation level and strength were much higher than Zhuoxiao's, he still had the upper hand in this fight. He didn't even move his feet and sent Duo flying. However, Zhuoxiao's knife was too heavy. Tung Hao's knife was only 7 to 8 jin, but Zhuoxiao's knife was more than 300 jin. Tung Hao jumped up and smashed down again. He was in a higher position and his strength was even more powerful. What was worse was that when the two knives collided, the blazing power passed through the knife in an unprecedented way and directly invaded Tung Hao's meridians. Tung Hao, who didn't have to worry about this, only felt that his internal organs were burning. It was as if his body was suddenly invaded by a raging flame and was burning fiercely. In a trance, he only felt his vision darken, and the vigorous strength that was originally flowing through his body seemed to have disappeared in an instant. With a loud cry, he suddenly fell to the ground. The clothes on his body were actually dried and cracked by the heat that was overflowing from the surface of his body, and even his hair was in a curly state. Then Tung Hao followed in Zhuoxiao's footsteps and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, even this mouthful of blood was steaming hot. There were even traces of black ashes in it. Then, he saw that Tung Hao's exposed skin was covered in blisters, like the bubbles on the surface of the water in the spring rain. Large patches of blisters connected together. The other two young men were shocked. They quickly rushed over to check on Tung Hao's condition. Duo, who was in mid-air, didn't hesitate. He raised his big knife and his whole body was boiling with heat waves. The fiery sun of the Flaming Sun Sutra was activated to the extreme. Once again he violently smashed down. "Damn it, how dare you steal from me? Don't you know who the #1 bully in Phoenix City is? If I said I was tired and passed out, would you believe me? Fourth watch again. Please vote. Please subscribe. Please support." Chapter 136. The two young men roared angrily and pulled out their weapons at the same time. They also reserved a considerable amount of energy to protect their dantian and internal organs. Their cultivation was on par with Duo. They were both at the Xiantian level and could see through the cultivation of Duo and the others. Although Tung Hao was in a miserable state, they were confident that Duo was only using a special technique, and Duo was not prepared for it. Thus, Duo was able to take advantage of the gap and succeed. Now that the two of them had joined forces to protect their dantian and internal organs, they were not afraid of Zhuoxiao's attack. Unfortunately, they were too naive. Even if the two of them joined forces to protect their dantian and internal organs, it was still useless. The high temperature created by Duo had reached a level that humans could not withstand. Tung Hao's clothes on the ground had even started to burn. Another loud bang was heard as the weapons collided once again. Duo spat out another mouthful of blood and was sent flying again. This time he was sent flying even more severely. When he landed on the ground, he could barely get up. His small face had turned deathly pale. However, the two young men opposite him were in an even worse situation. They felt as if their internal organs were being roasted by a raging fire. The water in their bodies was almost instantly sucked dry. Their hair was extremely curly, and some even directly turned into powder and fell to the ground. His clothes had also turned into pieces of dried leaves. The blisters on his body started to appear in large patches that even though their cultivation was much higher than Zhuoxiao's, they were still unable to withstand a single blow from a mystical technique like the Flaming Sun Scripture. The difference in cultivation realms, when contrasted with one's true strength, was an almost insurmountable chasm. However, the Flaming Sun scripture ignored the difference in cultivation realms. With its characteristic of burning everything, it directly burned the opponent's internal organs until they were severely injured. Yu Moyan and Long Yuxing immediately ran over and helped Zuo up. They were ready to attack at any time. "Boss, are you alright?" "Puff. I'm fine." Zuo spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. He felt dizzy and saw stars, but he still held on. He took a deep breath and grabbed the dragon blood flying dagger in his hand. He was racing against time to absorb the spiritual energy inside the dagger to recover. He gasped for a few more breaths before he said, "Help me over there." On the other side, the three young masters of Fengcheng were miserably lying on the ground. These three fellows were on the verge of death and didn't even dare to move. Their entire bodies were covered in blisters, the kind that was transparent like a bag of water. In fact, the injuries on their bodies were not very serious. They only needed to rest for a while. When the burning sensation subsided, they would be able to recover. Even the blisters on their bodies did not affect them much. After all, they were Xiantian-level practitioners. Their recovery ability was far above ordinary people. However, the premise was that they needed time. Now they were exhausted and injured. They had almost lost all their combat power. Any one of the 6 people on Zuoxiaoduo's side could take their lives. The 3 of them were full of regret. They had already gained a lot of things this time, but they were obsessed. They thought that they were going to pick up a soft persimmon, but they didn't expect to kick an iron plate. This guy was only a martial master, but he was so strong. A martial master defeated 3 Xiantian experts. It was unbelievable. Seeing Zuoxiaoduo coming over, the 3 of them were frightened. "You, what are you going to do?" The 3 of them were terrified of Zuoxiaoduo. Of course, they were even more afraid that Zuoxiaoduo would kill them. The 3 of them were the ones who provoked him first. It was reasonable that they were killed. Moreover, there were all his people here. If they really died, it would be quiet. Zuoxiaoduo looked at the 3 of them and grinned. "You're the 3 young masters of Fengcheng, right? I officially announce that I've taken a liking to you, starting from today." In the face of the fiendish Master Zua, the 3 men, who had been overflowing with arrogance a moment ago, started to tremble like quails in the cold wind. What did he mean by taking a liking to us? Could it be that the 3 of us are handsome and dashing, so she has some indecent and filthy thoughts? No, we're all straight men of steel. But he said that he had taken a liking to us so he wouldn't kill us, right? At the critical moment of life and death, it was easy to lose focus. Zuoxiaoduo staggered over and sneered. "I don't care why you're here. This is not the territory of number 1 middle school. It doesn't make sense for you to be here." Zuoxiaoduo's voice carried a kind of affirmation, as well as an indescribable rhythm, but it had its own rhythms. The 3 of them on the ground became more and more panicked. "I'm not interested to know who ordered you to be here. Although, you must have been ordered by someone to be here. If it wasn't for someone leading the way, how could you run into us so coincidentally?" The 3 of them became more and more panicked. "I'm also not interested to know what you've received, what you're trying to do, and what your real purpose is," Zuoxiaoduo said firmly. "The only thing I'm interested in is that I've taken a liking to you." Zuoxiaoduo spoke arrogantly while listening to the movements around him calmly. However, his posture remained the same, and his eyes never looked around. He was standing in front of the 3 unlucky people in front of him. Li Chenglong rolled his eyes and said in a low voice, "Boss, are you saying that these 3 guys didn't meet by chance? That they're here to rob us?" "Wrong." Zuoxiaoduo sneered and said, "They're not here to rob us. They're here to make trouble for us. To be more precise, they're here to make trouble for me." "Why? It's simple. If they want to rob us, they won't come up and say that they'll leave half of it for us. Taking half of it is already an irreconcilable feud. Why would they let the other half go? Also, they've been staring at me and talking to me since they came. After I stood out to fight, they focused all their attention on me. They didn't even look at you guys out of the corner of their eyes. With their cultivation and strength, they don't need to pay so much attention to me. When it came to the battle, he used all his strength and wanted to take me down in one fell swoop. This is already enough to explain many problems." Duo felt that the foundation of the dragon blood flying dagger was rapidly replenishing his deficit. In just a short while, he had already recovered 70 to 80% of his injuries. He couldn't help but feel relieved. They even want to kill me. Duo rolled his eyes and raised his head, saying, Teacher Qin, you don't have to come down. We can handle it ourselves. Wanli Xiao and the others. Could it be that Teacher Qin is watching over us now? Duo looked at the three people in front of him and smiled faintly. He took a few steps forward and began to search them. What are you doing? What am I doing? Of course I'm taking away your earnings. You relied on your cultivation and strength to rob us of our earnings. Now the tables have turned. Of course you'll be taken away. Duo searched them one by one and took all their earnings this time. Then, he threw them to Li Chenglong, saying, This windfall is ours. We'll divide it equally like before. Yes, sir. However, the money they have belongs to me alone. Duo took the total of 4,587 yuan and put it into his pocket, not leaving a single cent behind. He then angrily kicked the three of them a few times and scolded, Three poor bastards. How dare you rob us with such little money? He kicked them a few more times in anger and said disdainfully, How dare you call yourselves the three young masters of Fengqing with such little wealth? Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongues? The three people were in so much pain that they wished they were dead. However, they didn't dare to say anything. The three of them had now thoroughly understood that although the kid in front of them was much weaker than them, he had practiced an extremely strange cultivation technique that was beyond the scope of the three of them. That strange yuan qi really made the three of them feel helpless. Just the suppression of the Xiantian realm was useless against this kid. They could only watch helplessly as they were robbed and didn't dare to resist. This kid's hand was like a high-temperature furnace. If you struggled a little, his fingers would tap here and there would be 17 or 18 bell-like blisters on your body. This weapon is not bad. It's like casting pearls before swine. Duo took it without hesitation. This folding fan. It's actually woven with the astral silk as the base. Not bad, not bad. Why do you only have so little jade of astral souls? Duo also took the jade of astral souls. Even if you don't find it embarrassing, I do. Seeing that there was really nothing left, he said disappointedly, It's too extravagant for the three of you to have 3 mobile phones. You have no problem with me taking 2 of them, right? Leaving one for contact and rescue is enough. Your watches. They really don't suit you. I think they suit me quite well. Thank you. Come, write a letter to prove that you have given all these to me. Yes, write this. We are willing to give the knife, folding fan, jade of astral souls, harvest, watches, mobile phones to Duo for free. Long live friendship. Okay, sign below and write your ID number. Come, write your names first, then press your thumbprints. Okay, not bad, not bad. Sai, you're all Xiantians. Your handwriting is so ugly. Who's your language teacher? He's really misleading the students. There's another one. The content is as follows. In the future, whenever we get something good, we will give it to Duo for free. Once a week, we will never go back on our words. Otherwise, we will be struck by lightning and never reincarnate. If we violate this oath, our son will not have an anus. Come, sign and press your thumbprints. Oh, right, write down your class and home address. If I can't find you in school, I'll go to your houses. Isn't this a happy ending for everyone? Chapter 137. Duo chuckled and carefully put away the 6 pieces of paper into his pocket. He then cheerfully said, I like people like you who are loyal. Let's do it this way. In the future, you can come to me once a week. If you don't have time, I can go to you. Since you don't come on Saturday, I'll go to you on Sunday. Well, Sunday is the only rest day every week, so I'll go on Monday. I'll go to number 1 middle school and report my name as Fengqing's 3rd young master. I believe it'll be easy to find you, right? Every dog has its day. If the mountain doesn't turn, the water will turn. If the water doesn't turn, the heart will turn. If you don't turn, I'll turn too. Duo hummed a song. When I go back, I'll make a few copies of this. I'll also make a few copies of it online and email. Well, I'll also send a few copies to them. If I die, you can give it to them. Especially this girl, the governor's daughter. If I die, you can give it to her. If you can curry favor with her, it'll be a good thing for you. Well, that's it. I'm very happy to meet you 3 new friends today. Tung Hao Xiao Fei Han Ping. Right? Very good, very good. We'll be a family in the future. We'll take care of each other with all sincerity. If there's a blessing, I'll enjoy it. If there's a misfortune, you 3 will bear it. From now on, we'll be free and easy. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Tung Hao, Xiao Fei, and Han Ping. Their intestines were swollen with regret. There's actually the governor's daughter among them? This time. It's a done deal. Swishow Duo paced back and forth. Your boss was tight on money now. If you guys are smart and sensible, then get more. Robbery is a skill. Do you guys need to use some strategy in the future? I like the new kind of money that's connected to each other. The 3 of them wanted to die now. What kind of person is this? After we rob, do we have to sell it to the bank and exchange it for new money? Does the service need to be so considerate? Li Chenglong asked from the side. Boss, do you know who ordered them? Swishow Duo coughed and rolled his eyes at him. He didn't care about this topic and said, oh right, Teacher Qin is still up there. Remember to prepare a set for Teacher Qin. Everyone who sees him has a share. Everyone who sees him has a share. Li Chenglong coughed and said, of course we can't do without him. We still have to prepare a large portion. Swishow Duo cursed. At this moment the grass rustled. Swishow Duo also noticed that the bad luck on Li Chenglong's and the others' faces was rapidly spreading. Get down! Swishow Duo let out a loud roar. He spread his arms and knocked down all 5 of his companions. There was only one thought in his mind, what the fuck, I can't believe they weren't scared. Teacher Qin's reputation isn't strong enough. Sigh, this little fatty's words are really asking for a beating. Puff, puff, puff. A series of sounds were heard. Swishow Duo felt a sharp pain on his back and his vision turned black. Li Chenglong and the others beside him were also groaning. Their bodies were constantly twitching, and their screams were stuck in their throats. Move forward. Swishow Duo squeezed out 2 words. The 6 of them quickly moved forward 30 feet while lying on the ground. This movement made the pain on their backs even worse. They almost fainted on the spot. Puff, puff, puff. A series of hidden weapons were nailed to the place where they were lying on the ground. If they hadn't fled in such a hurry, there would have been casualties among the 6 of them. Swishow Duo stretched out his hand and pulled out a dart from his back. He sucked in a breath of cold air and jumped up. Ignoring the blood that was gushing out, he roared towards the sky, Teacher Qin. Qin Fengyang couldn't hear him at all. Fortunately, although Teacher Qin wasn't here, there were still others. Swoosh, swoosh. A series of shadows flashed. Lu Jiansheng and his 10 brothers jumped out angrily from all directions. They had been nearby the whole time. When Tung Hao and the others came to provoke them, Lu Jiansheng wanted to take action. However, after a round of fierce fighting, Swishoud's side had gained the upper hand. Naturally, he didn't take action. After all, the experiential learning was a training for warriors. It was better for them not to get involved. It was because they were a little far away that they didn't notice that there were other enemies hiding in the dark, eyeing them covetously. Moreover, they attacked with thunderous attacks, intending to kill them. At this moment, when the people hiding in the dark saw Lu Jiansheng and the others appear, they didn't fight. Instead, they quickly turned around in the bushes and went far away in a flash. Old 8 and Old 9 stay. The rest of you follow me. Lu Jiansheng and the others chased after them like fierce tigers coming down from the mountain. After Swishow Duo shouted for help, he hurriedly turned around to check on the injuries of Long Yusheng and the other 4. Fortunately, he had been on guard all along. When there was a commotion, he immediately laid down. Other than himself, who was slightly behind because he brought a few people with him, the rest of them were basically on their butts and thighs. Their injuries weren't too serious. Li Chenglong trembled as he pulled out the dart from his buttocks. He said with lingering fear in his heart, Boss, if you hadn't raised your head and shouted Teacher Qin earlier, I'm afraid we'd all be finished today. Swollen was also a clever person. He had already understood half of the situation just now. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to link up with Swishoud's words so well. In fact, when Swishow Duo and the others didn't succeed, the enemy had already come close. Then with the cooperation of Li Chenglong and Swishow Duo, It was as if they worked together to set up an empty fort strategy. They succeeded in making the enemy hesitate for a while, that if they had taken action immediately, the 6 of them would have been dead by now. But in the end, it was the little fatty who exposed himself. When he said that he wanted to prepare a large portion for Teacher Qin, it was completely exposed. How could Qin Fengyang be a person who took things from students? Willow dart. Li Chenglong trembled in pain. The dart in his buttocks had almost penetrated his buttocks and was stuck in his bones. The pain was indescribable when he pulled it out. Wan Lixio's thigh was stabbed. It should have been easier to deal with among them. But the problem was that there were no women here. Long Yusheng, find a place to help Xiao Er deal with it. Anyway, you guys will be honest with each other sooner or later. It doesn't matter. Li Chenglong was trembling in pain and actually teasing others. Wan Lixio originally intended to let Long Yusheng deal with her wound. But after hearing Swollen's words, Wan Lixio was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. No matter what, she wouldn't let Long Yusheng deal with it. In the end, she found a place to hide from others. She sucked in cold air and dealt with her wound while muttering curses at Li Chenglong and Long Yusheng. You stinky mouth. Long Yusheng and Zhou Xiaoduo scolded Li Chenglong together. Zhou Xiaoduo was puzzled. Where did Qin Fengyang go? Logically speaking, he should be the first person to guard the surroundings. It didn't make sense that he couldn't be seen after such a long time. Now that such a big thing had happened, he still couldn't be seen. This shouldn't be. Li Chenglong held the dart and looked at it. His face was gloomy. This is Mu Yunfeng's dart. Li Chenglong scolded angrily. That bastard. It's him? Are you sure? Zhou Xiaoduo expressed his disappointment towards Li Chenglong's conclusion, the kind of extreme disappointment. If it was really Mu Yunfeng's dart, then this matter involved the Umno alliance. In that case, it was almost certain that Teng Hao and the others would enter Star Shield. Then what was the use of keeping those notes? Zhou Xiaoduo was so depressed that he wanted to die. I finally found a proper long-term source of income after much difficulty. Sigh. How long will it take for them to be released? It should be fine for the time being. Zhou Xiaoduo's back was severely injured. Blood was flowing out. Li Zhongming had been treating his wound for a while, but several pieces of gauze were soaked and barely stopped the bleeding. Zhou Xiaoduo looked at everyone's faces again and finally felt relieved. The bad luck is finally gone. But why didn't we see through the changes this time? Yesterday I saw that there was no danger. Is this what it means to be scared but not in danger? Then this category of scared but not in danger seems to have to be expanded in the future. As long as there is no danger to life, then it is scared but not in danger? Can it be explained like this? Zhou Xiaoduo couldn't figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. Could it be a coincidence, a last-minute idea? But this shouldn't be. Zhou Xiaoduo frowned and muttered. At this moment, on the top floor of Second High's office building, Jiang Zhongbin stood respectfully at the door. Teacher, have you rested well? I'm here. I'm Jiang Zhongbin. The door opened. He Yuanyue was a little annoyed. Why are you so late? Didn't I ask you to come earlier? Jiang Zhongbin bowed humbly and smiled apologetically. He helped He Yuanyue to sit down, wiped his sweat and said flatteringly, Teacher, I had something to do at the last minute. I'm late, please forgive me. He Yuanyue sighed and rolled her eyes at him. As Jiang Zhongbin's teacher, He Yuanyue understood this student to the bone. This kid was obviously afraid of disturbing her rest, so he deliberately came late. Teacher, do you have any instructions for me? Jiang Zhongbin diligently massaged He Yuanyue's shoulders and temples. His technique was experienced and his strength was moderate. Obviously, he was quite experienced. Teacher, please try this massage technique that I just learned. How is it? Binner, you're so considerate. He Yuanyue sighed. As the director of SHIELD, Jiang Zhongbin actually went to learn massage. It was easy to imagine what his intentions were. Jiang Zhongbin's eyes were a little red after hearing her praise. He said, it's what I should do. Zhongbin just hates that I haven't done enough for you. You've done very well. He Yuanyue closed her eyes and said, I'm very gratified. The reason I called you here today is indeed because there's an important matter. A very, very important matter. The people involved are very sensitive. I've been hesitating for a few days, And even now, I still haven't decided if I should tell you or how to tell you. He Yuanyue said softly. Please feel free to speak your mind. Jiang Zhongbin subconsciously held his breath. In the afternoon, the chief updated. He really didn't have any chapters left. Sigh, who could have hundreds of thousands of chapters left? There was only one person who could do this in the online literature industry since ancient times. His heart was stifled, begging for monthly votes, subscriptions, and recommendations. Chapter 138. Jiang Zhongbin felt his scalp go numb. Something that could make He Yuanyue hesitate for so long. Something that could make He Yuanyue hesitate for so long. Jiang Zhongbin instinctively smelled the scent of a monstrous wave. He Yuanyue muttered to herself, her face showing a hesitant expression. Her white hair was fluttering in the wind. This was a sign that she was deep in thought. Her brows were tightly knitted, and her eyes were unusually solemn. As she muttered to herself for a long time, Chief Zhang's heart grew heavier and heavier. He knew very well that in recent years, there were not many things that could make the old principal so cautious and deliberate. Now, she had called in advance and asked him to come in secret. After coming, she was still hesitating and deliberating the words to speak. Then, this matter would most likely be of earth-shattering importance. Then, the people involved in this matter would most likely be unprecedentedly important. As He Yuanyue continued to ponder, Jiang Zhongbin almost didn't dare to breathe loudly. A layer of cold sweat quietly appeared on his shiny scalp. Even his heart was beating faster and faster, but he had to control himself and not dare to breathe loudly for fear of interrupting He Yuanyue's thoughts. Just how important was this matter? Finally, He Yuanyue said, Sister Lan, please stand guard at the door. Use the power of your astral souls to isolate my office. Okay. The sweat on Jiang Zhongbin's forehead rolled down in an instant. The two of them were already here, and Sister Lan was actually still needed to isolate the information. After a long time in a deathly silent atmosphere, He Yuanyue finally spoke. Zhongbin, what is the highest power that you can use now? How much exactly? He Yuanyue finally spoke. But once she opened her mouth, just one sentence, not only did Jiang Zhongbin's mood not relax, but it made him even more nervous. His mind was tense like never before. He thought seriously and said, the combat power that Star Shield has stationed in Phoenix City includes 2 nascent soul cultivators and 11 primordial core grandmasters. But these primordial core cultivators, when they walked the thorny road back then, they didn't exceed 6 levels. He Yuanyue slowly shook her head. Not enough. Far from enough. In addition, I am confident that I can invite Kunlun Dao Sec's Mu Yanyan and Zizai Dao Sec's teacher Qiu to help. These two are peak nascent soul experts. Jiang Zhongbin slowly considered who he could get help from, and who he could rely on. Other than that, I can also get help from the governor's office and the city guard's office. As he spoke, he cautiously observed He Yuanyue's expression. There's no need to mention these 2 places. Are there any other reinforcements? He Yuanyue interrupted and said gloomily. Jiang Zhongbin felt a chill run down his spine. When he mentioned the governor's mansion and the city guard's mansion, he didn't say anything definite. His main intention was to test the waters, hoping to get a rough idea. He didn't expect that He Yuanyue would directly reject these 2 places. Doesn't that mean that the more Jiang Zhongbin thought about it, the colder his heart became? Wouldn't this matter pierce through the heavens? The combat power of our side is too weak. He Yuanyue sighed helplessly and said lightly, there is a huge disparity in the combat power of both sides. Coupled with the disadvantage of being passive, even if the only 3 nascent soul senior teachers in the 2nd high school are all sent to you, plus Qin Fangyang and Sister Lan are lent to you, it's still not enough. Jiang Zhongbin broke out in a cold sweat and didn't dare to answer for a while. Such a lineup, such a manpower, such a configuration, it was still far from enough. What was the scale of the other side's combat power? He couldn't sleep and eat well just thinking about it. If we gather all the high-end forces of the governor's mansion, the city guards, the military, and the martial arts educational bureau, it's enough. But in these places, there are too many people who can't be trusted. He Yuanyue said lightly, once we alert the enemy, we really have no chance. Jiang Zhongbin wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say or where to start. His heart was stuck in his throat. or it would jump out of his mouth in the next moment. The situation had become so serious. How could he deal with it? At least in his imagination there was no backup plan. Will the summit send experts as reinforcements? Can the Dragon Blood team send a few people? Yuanyue mentioned the Dragon Blood team very clearly. It was obvious that she favored this force. It's not very likely that we can invite the Dragon Blood team as reinforcements. I made a report last time, but the higher-ups didn't approve it. Zhang Zhongbin's expression became more and more depressed. Yuanyue pushed the wheelchair all the way to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked into the distance. After a long time she said softly, "That day, Li Changjiang came to find me and told me something. The possible consequences of this matter are unknown, and it's hard to predict whether it's good or bad. I asked him to suppress it for the time being. Now that the situation is urgent, I've been weighing the pros and cons these past few days and planning for a long time. Until I called you over today." Yuanyue let out a long sigh. Originally, I thought that if we could mobilize enough forces, we could directly cut off the UMNO Alliance's highest leadership on our side and break this situation from top to bottom. But now it seems that at most we'll just alert the enemy. Zhang Zhongbin gritted his teeth and said, "Teacher, please enlighten me." Yuanyue looked into the distance and said indifferently, "My aura gazing technique is said to be magical, but in reality, it's just a beginner's level. It took a long time to determine the Phoenix vein. As for the more detailed content, I didn't understand much, so it can be said that I didn't discover much. But that day, because of a reminder, I asked Sister Lan to bring me up to the sky to look down on the entire Phoenix City. I specifically scanned the governor's mansion and actually made an unexpected discovery." Governor's mansion. Zhang Zhongbin's body trembled. Then, with a calm face, he slowly walked to the front of the chair and sat down. After waiting for a long time, he finally got the worst answer, but his heart suddenly calmed down. The situation was already as bad as it could be. But at most it could only be so. There was no way to make it worse. Then next he just had to do his best to face it. When he thought of this, Zhang Zhongbin didn't have the fear and uneasiness from before. The governor's mansion's atmosphere is strict. The layout is like the astral soul's continent's aura soaring to the sky. However, there is a trace of coldness hidden within. That is the aura of the UMNO Alliance. It moves together with the aura of the governor's mansion, rising and falling. It has almost merged into one. Yuanyue laughed bitterly. If it wasn't for someone's reminder and I just looked at it myself, even if I was blind, I most likely wouldn't have seen anything strange. I have to say, once the heart is fixed, it's hard to see anything strange. But from another perspective, I can see that something is wrong. Although, it's just a trace of abnormality. Zhang Zhongbin took a deep breath. "Teacher, you can just tell me what you plan to do. I now fully understand the importance of this matter." Yuanyue said lightly, "Understanding is one thing. How to do it is another. You must not be reckless. You are the main force of our side. If even you act rashly and ruin yourself, it's a small matter. But if you fail, it may cause a chain reaction and cause the entire Phoenix City to suffer a calamity. I'm afraid the people will be plunged into misery and suffering." Yes, this student understands. Yuanyue finally made up her mind. Since she had made up her mind, she no longer hesitated and said, "On the day of the incident in Second High, you came to the school and were in Li Changjiang's principal's office. Do you remember who was sitting next to you?" Zhang Zhongbin was stunned. He opened his mouth and was about to speak when Yuanyue continued. "Sitting on your left was a tall and thin old man in a gray robe. His hair was white, and his broom-like eyebrows were quite eye-catching." Zhang Zhongbin exclaimed, "Teacher, are you talking about him? Lower your voice." Yuanyue was a little dissatisfied. Is this the calmness of the director of Star Shield? Zhang Zhongbin nodded repeatedly. The sweat on his bald head had already formed a line. He only felt that his mouth was dry and sticky and his throat was dry. He murmured, "That is Shang Qingyan, the first butler of the governor's office, the sworn brother of Governor Wan Pingyuan. He was already a master at the peak of nascent soul 40 years ago. In our Phoenix City, even if he is not second to none, he is one of the top 3 candidates." As he spoke, the sweat on his face almost covered his eyes. Yuanyue murmured, "Shang Qingyun. Jiang Zhongbin took a deep breath, wiped his sweat, and continued, legend has it that the area around Phoenix City, Nanji City, and Antai City was almost all under the control of the Black Water Wolves. When Wan Pingyuan just took office, the three cities joined forces to eliminate the Black Water Wolves. The battle with the wolves that day was earth-shattering. Wan Pingyuan's family was attacked by the Black Water Wolves. Seeing that the whole family was destroyed, Shang Qingyun stepped forward and saved the lives of Wan Pingyuan's family. After that, in the battle to annihilate the Black Water Wolves bandits on the Infinite Plains, Shang Qingyun led the charge and marched through the continuous 9 mountains that the Black Water Wolves bandits occupied with his sword alone, despite the order from the Green Cloud Domain. In that battle, more than 7,000 members of the Black Water Bandits lost their lives under Shang Qingyun's sword, including 8 of the 13 leaders of the Black Water Bandits. In that battle, the Black Water Wolves, who claimed to have more than 300,000 troops, were completely defeated. More than 100,000 Black Water Wolves died on the spot. In the following 10 years, the prisons of the 3 cities were always full. This can be said to be the biggest incident in Phoenix City in the past 100 years. The more Jiang Zhongbin spoke, the more cold sweat on his face. After that, Wan Pingyuan repeatedly urged Shang Qingyun to stay, and wanted him to join the city guard's mansion or the army. But Shang Qingyun said that he had no intention of fame and wealth, and lived in seclusion in the mountains for many years. Today's situation was It was midnight. Please subscribe. Chapter 139. Jiang Zhongbin's expression was solemn. He was very familiar with the experiences of Shang Qingyun, this legendary expert. Later on, Wan Pingyuan and Shang Qingyun became sworn brothers. Shang Qingyun stayed at Wan Pingyuan's house and continued to immerse himself in cultivation, not bothering about worldly affairs. It was only in the recent 10 years that he seemed to have thought of something and took the initiative to ask Wan Pingyuan for the position of housekeeper. Although he is a housekeeper, the entire governor's office, including Wan Pingyuan, is extremely respectful towards Shang Qingyun. This is an almighty. Not only is he the pillar of Phoenix City, but he is also the greatest source of confidence in fighting against the UMNO alliance in my heart. Jiang Zhongbin's voice was trembling. Teacher, what do you mean? He Yuanyue said lightly, if I'm not wrong. This Shang Qingyun, more than 90%, is a member of the UMNO alliance. He had been waiting for this sentence. With Jiang Zhongbin's status, age and experience, he was already mentally prepared when He Yuanyue mentioned Shang Qingyun. But when he heard He Yuanyue's final words, Jiang Zhongbin still felt as if a thunderbolt had suddenly sounded above his head. For a moment his ears were buzzing, and the world was spinning. His body couldn't help but sway a few times, and he almost lost his footing. He Yuanyue said lightly, furthermore, I even suspect that this Shang Qingyun is the most important person in the UMNO alliance in Phoenix City, the highest leader. Jiang Zhongbin's eyes were dull, and he didn't know what to do. He had always seen Shang Qingyun as his final trump card. In the end, only today did he know that it was a life-taking knife. What he took was the life of his own people. He Yuanyue didn't say anything else and quietly lit a pot of tranquil heart incense. The light blue smoke rose in spirals, straight up until it was more than 20 centimeters high before it slowly dissipated in all directions. The office was instantly filled with a kind of quiet feeling. However, Jiang Zhongbin's heavy breathing still sounded like a bellows and didn't stop for a long time. After a long time, Jiang Zhongbin finally came back to his senses, as if he had just woken up from a dream. While he was in a daze just now, he had already come up with 7 or 8 plans to get rid of Shang Qingyun. However, no matter how he thought about it, he still had no confidence. Not only did he not have confidence, but it was also very likely that his own people would be trapped and lose their lives for nothing. Shang Qingyun's strength, just what he had shown, was already the strongest in this area. Phoenix City's area. No one dared to say that they would win. What was more, if Shang Qingyun was really a spy of the Wizard Alliance, did he have any hidden strength? How strong was his real strength? Teacher, you really threw out an atomic bomb this time. Jiang Zhongbin stuttered. She said, the UMNO. Is it the full strength? Is it 80%, or 50? All? At least it's not as simple as what you see. And the UMNO Alliance's hidden strength in Phoenix City for the power of the Phoenix Vein. I think. Just the number of nascent soul experts that he can use is already more than you can imagine. He Yuanyue's eyes were deep. I can already confirm that with Shang Qingyun's level, he shouldn't have appeared in a small place like Phoenix City. He must have been sent by the Umno Alliance specifically for the Wind Vein Soul Rush. Do you know how long Shang Qingyun has been in Phoenix City? He Yuanyue asked. It's been more than 60 years. Zhang Zhongbin was sweating profusely and said with difficulty, to be precise, it should be 61 years and 11 months. That is to say, the Umno Alliance has been targeting the power of the Phoenix Vein for at least 61 years. He Yuanyue's old throat let out a dry, mocking laugh. Purely based on time, I found out about it later than Shang Qingyun or the Umno Alliance. But we have been suppressing this matter for a full 40 years. Hee. Right now, Zhang Zhongbin only felt that he was dazzled, and the feeling of dizziness came one after another. Once this cover was uncovered, how many people would be unlucky? I only hate that I'm not Great General Dongfang. And Great General Dongfang has never come to Phoenix City before. If he came with his attainments in Qi divination, I'm afraid he would be able to see the problem with a single glance, and the officials at all levels would definitely not dare to forcefully suppress it. Although Phoenix City is a small place, it is still in human territory. This innate advantage is enough for us to take the initiative. He Yuanyue sighed. The words of a lowly person carry little weight. The words of a lowly person carry little weight. Zhang Zhongbin was dumbstruck. Regarding the Phoenix Vein, he had represented the old principle and reported it to the higher-ups many times. However, it had never been taken seriously. The only time it had been effective was 10 years ago. Starshield strongly appealed, the governor's office fully cooperated, and the Meng Corporation sent out a huge amount of money. Then they invited a group of Qi Watchers who claimed to be authoritative. After those Qi Watchers finished reading, they only had one conclusion. Phoenix City did not have any Phoenix Vein or Dragon Vein. It was a small place with mediocre feng shui and luck. This made the Phoenix Vein even more powerless. But now, the Wizard Alliance had been making a lot of moves. They had gathered in Phoenix City to kill all the wolves. If the accusation against Shang Qingyun was true, then Phoenix City would have to face a huge problem this time. Zhang Zhongbin suddenly felt a chill. He remembered something. The governor's office fully cooperated. That time it was Shang Qingyun who arranged it. Luck. He Yuanyue said slowly. What is the battle between the Umno Alliance and the Astral Souls? It is luck. And now the Umno Alliance has been alone in the sky for tens of thousands of years. The luck of the heavens has been exhausted. Otherwise, why would they come back? Is it just to kill all the humans in the Astral Souls? What they want is the luck of the heavens in the Astral Souls. To be fair, Phoenix City is indeed a small place. The Phoenix Vein is not a big source of luck. But after 43,000 years of accumulation, it is not to be underestimated. It is enough to be coveted by the Umno Alliance. What's more, the power of the Phoenix Vein will be the starting point for the Umno Alliance to dominate the Astral Souls. He Yuanyue said worriedly, if the Umno Alliance succeeds in destroying it and intercepting it, the power of the Phoenix Vein is taken away and injected into the luck of the mountains and rivers on the side of the Umno Alliance. At the very least, there will be a weak root of the Phoenix Vein there. Think about it carefully. You must not be careless about this. If you don't succeed in one strike, although it will alert the enemy and disrupt their deployment, the loss will be extremely heavy. Zhang Zhongbin, as the director of Starshield, no matter what you encounter, you must first consider the goal. Then, you must consider the opponent's goal and the overall situation of the continent. Sift through the layers and then reverse the process. This is the true way of Starshield. Pull one hair and the whole body will be affected. This saying is not made up by the ancients for fun. He Yuanyue advised in a serious tone. Teacher, I will remember. I know the pros and cons of this. Zhang Zhongbin's expression was extremely ugly. He said, even if I have to make a scene and act shamelessly, I must ask the Dragon Blood Squad to come over. Otherwise, the loss of manpower in Phoenix City is no longer a matter of how much we lose. We are completely powerless. All right. He Yuanyue said, when it comes to the final battle, I will ask Sister Lan to help you and increase your chances of winning. Thank you, teacher. It's fine. You can go now. He Yuanyue's expression was full of fatigue. Zhang Zhongbin's heart was extremely heavy, but he forced himself to suppress this matter for the time being. Hearing that He Yuanyue was asking him to leave, Zhang Zhongbin did not leave. Instead, he sat there with a constipated look. He was restless and his brows were tightly furrowed. He wanted to say something but stopped. He looked at He Yuanyue and said softly, "This student has one more thing to say. I am afraid that you will be angry." He Yuanyue was stunned for a moment. Then, her eyes suddenly became stern. "Zhang Zhongbin, have you really become bold after becoming an official?" Zhang Zhongbin's face was pale. He begged, "Teacher, it is too tragic, too cruel." He Yuanyue closed her eyes and snorted. Zhang Zhongbin gathered all his courage and said, "Teacher, of course you are sincerely. For his good. But what you are doing is actually very selfish." He Yuanyue did not say a word. "Even though we have separated for most of our lives, we are reunited. Since we are fated, why not give each other a chance?" Zhang Zhongbin begged, "Don't tell me. You really want to leave with regrets?" He Yuanyue finally opened her mouth. However, she still did not open her eyes. Her voice was slow and slow. Humans have a unique trait, and that is forgetting. All the bad things, all the sad things, all the happy things, all the happy things. In a person's long life, they won't exist for a long time. For example, an ordinary person who has never entered the path of cultivation only has a lifespan of about 70 to 80 years. After he goes to university, he will not remember the faces of his elementary school classmates who have been with him for many years. Not to mention the past that he has experienced together. There are too many grandparents who treat their grandchildren as treasures. However, if the grandson is 20 years old when they pass away, then when the grandson is 40 years old, if there is no photo as a memento, most of the grandchildren will have completely blurred out the face of the old man who has been so kind to them. The forgetting of humans is the reality of the power of the rules of time. Under the erosion of time, everything will fade and everything will be forgotten. Including love, family, and even one's own life. They are all within the scope of forgetting. He Yuanyue closed her eyes and said lightly. She seemed to be trying hard to convince Zhang Zhongbin, but it was more like she was trying hard to convince herself. "But now you have been separated for almost 100 years. Have you forgotten?" Has he forgotten? Zhang Zhongbin asked, unwilling to give up. Chapter 140. Have you forgotten? Has he forgotten? He Yuanyue coughed violently. Zhang Zhongbin was shocked. He hurriedly went behind He Yuanyue and carefully helped her breathe. After a long time, He Yuanyue's breath calmed down. She murmured, "He still has thousands of years to forget. If he breaks through to the cloud realm, he still has thousands of years to forget. And I have less than a year to forget. If I remind him now and make him remember me, the other me, I'll brand the other me into his memory. That's the cruelest thing for him." He Yuanyue closed her eyes and asked quietly, "Zhongbin, no matter how painful and selfish I am, I have less than a year left. But how long do you want him to continue that pain? He is not a person who can stay here for long. Sooner or later, he will return to the Sun-Moon Pass. He just comes back to overcome the obsession in his heart. When I am gone, his hope will be shattered, and his obsession will not exist. What I can do is not to let his obsession turn into a dead knot after so many years of delusion. Even a dead knot that will last for thousands of years. Zhang Zhongbin, do I have to use his thousands of years of pain and longing as a sacrifice, just so that I can have no regrets before I die?" He Yuanyue said slowly, "You don't let me die with regrets." Zhang Zhongbin left. When he came, he was stealthy and no one found him. When he left, he was even more silent. But when he sat in his car, he couldn't help but sigh deeply for a long time. He put his head on the steering wheel and stayed there quietly for a long time. He really felt mentally and physically exhausted. For himself, he was mentally and physically exhausted. For the old principal, he also felt mentally and physically exhausted. On the other side, after Zhang Zhongbin left, He Yuanyue called Sister Lan in. Zhang Zhongbin's words before he left made He Yuanyue's heart, which had been silent for a long time, almost break. Sister Lan had been in for half an hour, but He Yuanyue was still sitting there in a daze. She was skinny and her hair was white. Sister Lan, in your opinion, how much time do I have? After a long time, He Yuanyue calmed down and asked softly. Sister Lan hesitated for a moment and sighed softly. There's no harm in being straightforward. I have a rough estimate myself, but I want to know more about it. Sister Lan pondered for a moment and said, if there are no major changes, Miss, your body can still live for another year and 37 days. I can guarantee that it will be at least this number. He Yuanyue's eyes were fixed. She looked out of the window and muttered, Sister Lan, do you think there is really an afterlife for people? Sister Lan fell silent. If there is an afterlife, He Yuanyue heaved a long sigh. That would be great. Sister Lan was silent, not knowing what to say for a moment. Everyone said that there was a past life and an afterlife, but everyone knew that it was a lie. He Yuanyue faintly smiled and immediately suppressed all of her thoughts. She gently said, Sister Lan, I know that you found clues about the Feng Manor. You were just worried that I would waste more effort, so you didn't want to tell me. Sister Lan remained silent as usual. You discovered it a year ago, didn't you? That was the only time you left my side for more than 3 days. He Yuanyue slowly said, 1 year and 37 days. Sister Lan, do you have the heart to watch me slowly become paralyzed and die little by little? Until you die, you won't do anything? You'll just wait every day? Sister Lan's eyes flashed. You know, I've been holding on for the past few years. The only thing I can't let go of is the Feng Manor. He Yuanyue softly said, this is the last big thing in my life. If I can't complete it and die, I won't be able to die in peace. Sister Lan softly said, as for the Feng Manor's exact location, I really haven't found it. He Yuanyue slowly said, at least there are clues. Last time I went missing for 3 days, I went deep into all of the nearby mountains. Sister Lan faintly said, I didn't find any clues at all. Telling you is pointless. Impossible. He Yuanyue firmly said, since there is a phoenix vein, there must be a Feng Manor. I also think so. Sister Lan said, so I suspect that the Feng Manor might be inside the city. He Yuanyue suddenly froze as if she had been struck by lightning. Inside the city? Not bad, not bad. He Yuanyue muttered to herself, I've always thought that the qi gazing technique always says that the mountains and rivers are beautiful. There is a dragon palace and a Feng Manor. So, I've always been focused on the outside and neglected Phoenix City itself. But if the Feng Manor really is inside the city, He Yuanyue's eyes suddenly became sharp. Sister Lan, what do you want to say? Sister Lan pondered for a moment and hesitantly said, I suspect that the Feng Manor's location should have been noticed by someone a long time ago. It's just that it was covered up by a building. At the very least, there was some manipulation. He Yuanyue's eyes became sharp. Just tell me your suspicions. Sister Lan said. The Ning family and the Meng family are both suspects. Ning family. Meng family? What are their suspicions? What is their motive? The head of the Ning family, Ning Suifeng, should be almost 200 years old. According to my investigation, he has a few children who did not cultivate. They died of old age a long time ago. And the 19-year-old Ning Qingcheng is Ning Suifeng's biological daughter. Sister Lan said. Ning Qingcheng's talent is Astral Souls 97. He Yuanyue's face slowly became ugly. There is also Ming Corporation's Meng Tianyu. Sister Lan slowly said. If I remember correctly, Meng Tianyu is over 100 years old. He came to Phoenix City from Nanji City and fought with his bare hands. He established the Meng Corporation and became the richest person in Phoenix City. And his son Meng Chuntian. It is said that he became the disciple of an expert and is never by his side. He only appeared a few years ago and is said to be 33 years old. But I always feel that this child's age is not 33, but rather 83. Sister Lan slowly said. He Yuanyue's eyes became even darker. And that Meng Chenyu this year is really only 18 years old. 9-5 astral souls. Sister Lan faintly said. If my suspicions are connected. Ning Suifeng said that he was an old cow eating young grass. He married Ning Qingcheng's mother and gave birth to Ning Qingchang. Also, Meng Tianyu, who is over 100 years old, found a beautiful normal girl and gave birth to Meng Chanyu. If you look carefully, there are very strange things in the bones. Of course, it can be said that a successful man likes young women to make himself look good. But if the phoenix bloodline is also included, then it is a different matter. No matter if it is Ning Qingchang or Meng Chanyu, they are both excellent candidates for the phoenix bloodline. Also, this talent is really too good. Phoenix City has produced so many female geniuses over the years, but how many can reach this level of talent? But if the two girls' physiques are classified as Feng Manor or Phoenix bloodline, then it can be explained. Also, in terms of age and time, it can all match. Like this, there is a motive. He Yuanyue's face was gloomy and said, but there is only one Feng Manor. Between these two families, one must be innocent, right? Not necessarily. Sister Lan shook her head. He Yuanyue pondered. Sister Lan did not say anything else. In so many years, this is the first time you have spoken so much. He Yuanyue sighed softly. And this time you have said so much. I know what you are thinking. Do you want me to give up? He Yuanyue said. Yes, between these two families and the Umno alliance, it seems that there is no connection between them. If they are purely for the Phoenix bloodline, as long as they have nothing to do with the Umno alliance and did not collude, then it is fine. But Ning Qingchang and Meng Chanyu in a sense are both your disciples. The Phoenix bloodline spirit, whether it is spiritual sense Meng Chanyu or Ning Qingchang. Actually, as long as any one of them succeeds, it will still be the victory of the astral soul's continent. Sister Lan said, I know you favor spiritual sense the most, but the current situation is too dangerous. If we place all our bets on spiritual sense, we may lose out. Meng Chanyu and Ning Qingcheng's fate is also protected by the fate of the astral soul's continent. I also favor spiritual sense very much. Sister Lan said. I also like this girl the most. But we all understand that the Phoenix bloodline spirit is related to the fate of the heavens. We must not let our emotions affect our decisions and force ourselves to do it. In reality, no matter which of these three girls succeeds, we can rest assured. As long as the Umno alliance does not take it away, we will win. Perhaps the Meng family and the Ning family have their own goals, but as long as they do not collude with the Umno alliance, I feel that under the premise we can accept it. After all, 3 is safer than 1. We are doing this for the safety of the continent, not for the safety of one girl. After Sister Lan said this, she closed her mouth and did not say anything else. She knew that everything had been said very clearly. The rest was up to He Yuanyue to decide. And no matter what He Yuanyue chose, Sister Lan would support her unconditionally. I can't be sure whether the two families have anything to do with the Umno alliance. This is also very important. The tiredness in He Yuanyue's eyes became even more obvious. Sister Lan stood there quietly. There are a few things that I need you to help me confirm as soon as possible. He Yuanyue's voice was cold and emotionless. Young miss, please speak. The first thing is whether the Meng family, the Ning family, and the Umno alliance have anything to do with each other. The second thing is which of the two families is the Feng Manor located in. The third thing is Meng Chanyu and Ning Qingcheng's birth characters. Their real birth characters are very important and must be obtained as soon as possible. The fourth thing is the whereabouts of Meng Chanyu and Ning Qingcheng's birth mother. The fifth thing is I want to see Mu Yan. The sixth thing is I want to see Zhou Xiaodu. The seventh thing, Blind Hong of Phoenix City, I want to see him. The eighth thing is after checking all of these, I want to see Ning Suifeng and Meng Tianyu. The ninth thing is there will be heavy rain tonight. After a long drought, the heaven and earth will converge and the yin and yang will converge. After midnight, the rain will stop and the wind will stop. The sky will be clear. Take me to Phoenix turning around again. I want to see the situation of Phoenix City again. By the way, let's Wuxia Duo go tonight. The 10th thing. Meng family and Ning family in that period of time from 20 years ago to 15 years ago, how many children were born in total? How many were the direct descendants of the family head? How many wives did Ning Suifeng and Meng Tianyu marry during this period of time? How did they deal with them? There were more in the afternoon. Chapter 141. Alright. 10 things, I'll remember them. He Yuanyue panted tiredly and said, Get me some dragon soul liquid and some heavenly origin root. I need to refresh myself for these 2 months. Sister Lan said, you can only take the heavenly origin root one last time. After taking it this time, your lifespan will be reduced by 2 months. Damaging the heavenly origin root and breaking the foundation. Overdrafting the life source to fill the body in advance. You will have less than 11 months left of your 1 year and 37 days lifespan. No worries. He Yuanyue's withered eyes suddenly flashed with a ghastly light. The big thing that I've been looking for in my life is right in front of me. And what you said just now, maybe I've been deceived or even used in reverse. No matter what, I must get to the bottom of this matter. I will persevere until this road is paved before I leave. He Yuanyue panted heavily. Prepare the soul dream grass for me. He Yuanyue's last sentence made Sister Lan's body tremble violently. On the other side, Zhuo Duo and the others were resting. The 6 of them were all injured, and their injuries were quite serious. How many contribution points is considered a lot? I quit. The most important thing now is to heal. Only with a good body can we get more contribution points. Zhuo Duo made the final decision. Immediately after, he let out a long whistle, intending to summon the whole class to gather. At this time there was an unrivaled enemy lurking nearby. The situation could be said to have reached the point of life and death. It was extremely bad. If they forced themselves to continue the training, the consequences were really unpredictable. Maybe if something went wrong they would lose their lives. The wind whistled in the sky, and Qin Fengyang suddenly landed. When he saw the situation, his face changed greatly. What's going on? It's Mu Yun Peak. After Li Chenglong explained the whole matter in a few words, Qin Fengyang was so angry that his stomach almost exploded. There was also a burst of lingering fear. In today's training, strictly speaking, there was no attempt to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Everything happened naturally. Even the unexpected arrival of Shen Tianan's team was actually within their expectations. It was just that they had come here on their own accord, and were only walking down the path of death. Strictly speaking, the time it took for him to rush over to help was not long. It was less than 10 minutes in total. However, it was in this short period of time that problems appeared one after another. What made him the most depressed was that, when he heard that Shen Tainan, who shouldn't be participating in the practical training, had actually come, he rushed over to help, causing Luo Laosher, who didn't know what was going on, to follow him. Of course, Zhuo Duo still had Lu Jiansheng and 10 other people in charge. Considering the level of the martial arts master students, it was more than enough. However, who would have thought that the arrival of the 3 young masters of Fengchang from number 1 high school would cause the situation to change again? Fortunately, Zhuo Xiaoduo's physiognomy skills are still very good. It was a close call but no danger. Qin Fengyang muttered to himself. This was the feeling of being lucky in the midst of misfortune. At this moment, Lu Jiansheng and the others were also embarrassed. Before Qin Fengyang arrived, he had already told his 10 buddies that they must keep an eye on Zhuo Xiaoduo's team. As for the others, even if the sky falls down, you don't need to care. However, right under his nose, not only were the 6 of them injured, they were even close to losing their lives. Not long after, groups of number 19 practical training students gathered here one after another. Lu Jiansheng and the others who went out to chase after Mu Yunfeng also came back empty-handed. It was obvious that they didn't manage to catch up with him. They were all very upset and angry. In the dense grass, Mu Yunfeng, who was moving stealthily, held his breath, carefully and quickly moving his body. His whole body moved at high speed in the dense grass without making any noise. Only the roots of the grass swayed slightly. This was obviously a skill that he had honed after fleeing for a long time. Yes, it was a long time of fleeing. Mu Yunfeng had been hiding in this patch of grass for a few days. Ever since he was exposed, he was expelled from Phoenix City. Yes, he was expelled by the people of the UMNO Alliance. It's no longer suitable for you to stay here. Find a place to hide and don't come back. Only this sentence, nothing else was given, and there was no follow-up. Mu Yunfeng could only leave on his own. If he didn't leave, not only would Phoenix City search for him, even the UMNO Alliance wouldn't let him go. He had originally planned to go to Antai City. However, he had encountered more than a dozen dangers in the process of leaving the city. He had almost been caught a few times. After he had finally left the city with great difficulty, he had turned around to look at Phoenix City. He had felt uncomfortable and unusually angry. I was hiding here, how did something happen all of a sudden? As a teacher of number 2 high school, he was naturally very familiar with the training area of number 2 high school. In fact, he had brought students out for training many times, so hiding in this area and even living for a period of time was nothing to him. If he really left like this, Mu Yunfeng felt very angry, and he had to think of a way to vent his anger. Anyway, this was the training area of number 2 high school. As long as he waited patiently, he would definitely meet the students or teachers of number 2 high school, and find a chance to kill a bunch of them before leaving. I, Mu Yunfeng, am also a person with dignity. If he left without taking revenge, he would feel uneasy. He had been hiding for a few days, and during this period, he had assassinated 2 students of number 2 high school, but he had shifted the blame to the ferocious beasts, perfectly hiding his own existence. Regarding this, Mu Yunfeng felt that the anger in his heart was almost vented. He originally planned to leave in these 2 days, but he didn't expect that. Today, he actually saw Qin Fengyang bring the students of the martial arts masterclass to train. Mu Yunfeng was very clear about Qin Fengyang's strength. He was definitely not his opponent. He was only at the early stage of the inner core realm, and Qin Fengyang was a nascent soul expert. Not to mention, Qin Fengyang was accompanied by the infamous Luo Lai among the teachers of number 2 high school. Although Luo Lai's cultivation was slightly weaker than Qin Fengyang's, it wasn't by much. Even if he took a step back, he was still much stronger than Mu Yunfeng. Facing such a strong person, he naturally didn't plan to do anything. Even if the thorn in his side, Zhuo Duo, who he wanted to kill the most, was in that group of students compared to venting his anger, his own life was more important. When he quietly retreated, he unexpectedly met Ting Hao and the other 2 students of number 1 high school. Tung Hao and the other 3 young masters of Phoenix City were able to reach the innate realm at such a young age. Not only were they outstanding in number 1 high school, but they were also well known in Phoenix City. Mu Yunfeng naturally knew the 3 of them. Mu Yunfeng rolled his eyes and a plan came to his mind. He could use a large sum of money to encourage these 3 hotheads to deal with Zhuo Duo. The 3 of them would make a move first and test the waters. If Qin Fengyang didn't come out, he would take the opportunity to kill Zhuo Duo and his group. After that, he would have enough time to escape. This is my last job in Phoenix City. Especially now that this Zhuo Duo is not only my enemy, but also the target of the UMNO alliance. Killing him will be a great contribution. Even if I have to take a little risk, it will be worth it. Seeing that Tung Hao and the other 2 were going to cause trouble for Zhuo Duo, Qin Fengyang really didn't make a move. When Tung Hao and the other 2 were defeated, Mu Yunfeng thought that Zhuo Duo and his group would definitely relax. Just when he was about to make a move, he was scared back by Zhuo Duo shouting Teacher Qin to the sky. However, Qin Fengyang also didn't make a move. Li Chenglong's superfluous words made Mu Yunfeng, who was familiar with Qin Fengyang's character, no longer hesitate and make a move to kill him. Unfortunately, he was still a moment too late. Zhuo Duo and his group escaped and attracted the pursuit of Lu Jiansheng and his group. Fortunately, Mu Yunfeng had already planned his escape route. Relying on his familiarity with the surrounding terrain, he finally got rid of Lu Jiansheng and his group's pursuit. Mu Yunfeng couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. So be it. Whatever, retreat. This place was getting more and more dangerous, especially when he showed his face today and was almost caught. He reckoned that a large number of search and capture teams would arrive this afternoon. Mu Yunfeng carefully stuck to the bottom of the grass and slithered quickly like a snake. Suddenly he felt that something was wrong. Why was it suddenly so cold? Mu Yunfeng looked on helplessly as the grass near him rapidly withered and was quickly covered with a layer of white frost. Even with his cultivation, he actually felt that the cold was unbearable. He quietly raised his head and saw that about a few meters in front of him, there was a white figure standing there with a short sword in her hand. Her face was covered with frost and full of killing intent. Who is it? Mu Yunfeng didn't have the time to consider the problem of exposing his whereabouts. He wanted to jump up. Unfortunately, in the next moment, the short sword had already fallen down with a biting cold light. Swoosh! That short sword directly nailed Mu Yunfeng's waist. It pierced through his muscles, bones, and internal organs, nailing his entire body to the ground. Mu Yunfeng did not even have time to let out a scream before a slender, jade-like hand resolutely descended, slapping his head. With a pop, his entire head immediately turned into a block of ice. Following a cracking sound, it was completely twisted off. All that was left was a headless corpse that was still convulsing for the last time. Zhou Xiaoyan waved her hand, and Mu Yunfeng's frozen head entered her ring. However, the frost on her face did not dissipate. Daring to injure my family's dog, you deserve 10,000 deaths. Senior sister, this cultivation technique of yours is becoming more and more powerful. At her side, Meng Changyu's face was filled with envy. What kind of cultivation technique is this? Why did master not teach me? Zhou Xiaoyan turned her head and coldly looked at Meng Chanyu. Her gaze was as sharp as a knife. Meng Chanyu panicked and stammered, Senior sister? Slap. Zhou Xiaoyan fiercely slapped Meng Chanyu's face. Her pretty eyes were filled with killing intent. Meng Chanyu's delicate white face immediately swelled up. Retreating a couple steps, her eyes glistened with tears. Senior sister, why did you hit me? Zhou Xiaoyan's expression was cold. Master ordered you to protect Xiao Duo. Is this true? Yes. But the assassin went behind you. At that time you clearly noticed, but you pretended not to see. Why? Chapter 142. Zhou Xiaoyan's face was as cold as frost. I was quite far away and I was directly in front of Xiao Duo. Mu Yunfeng brazenly made a move, and I was too far away to stop him. But what about you? You were always on Mu Yunfeng's side, but what were you doing? With your cultivation facing Mu Yunfeng, could it be that you really couldn't stop him from making a move? From the position you just appeared, Mu Yunfeng's previous move was practically over your head. What were you doing at that time? You clearly moved your body's qi, but it didn't move. And after that, Mu Yunfeng practically ran over your head, but you didn't move at all. What were you doing? Zhou Xiaoyan's expression was extremely cold, and she coldly said, Meng Chanyu, this time twice, what were you doing? Asking me why I hit you, is this reason enough? Meng Chanyu held her face with one hand and said with grievance, Senior sister, at that time it was too sudden. I really didn't notice. Zhou Xiaoyan's expression was indifferent. Even if the first time was unexpected, and you didn't react quickly enough, what about the second time? You still didn't react? With your cultivation, all of Mu Yunfeng's movements were within your grasp. You noticed it from the beginning, but you didn't stop it. You clearly had an ulterior motive. You wanted Xiao Duo to die. Zhou Xiaoyan's gaze was extremely sharp as she looked at Meng Chanyu. Why did you want Xiao Duo to die? That day at the training ground, even if his foul mouth offended you, it was not a matter of life and death. The only reason I can think of is, he ruined your brother's plan to treat me to a meal? Zhou Xiaoyan faintly said. Meng Chanyu, is it because of this that you hold a grudge? Is that right? Or is there another reason? Her beautiful eyes were filled with thought as she looked at Meng Chanyu. Meng Chanyu was silent for a long time. Perhaps there is another reason that I don't know? Meng Chanyu remained silent. Zhou Xiaoyan continued to ask, do you still insist that you haven't found me in Peak? Meng Chanyu slowly removed her hand from her face and suddenly smiled. Smiling brightly, she leisurely said, Senior sister, I am just very confused. My brother is so outstanding, so why do you not like him? You clearly promised me that you would meet my brother alone, so why did you bring a third wheel with you? You're the one who violated the agreement first. Have you forgotten what kind of price I've paid for this meeting? Meng Chanyu hatefully said. Could it be that you do not feel that this is very unfair? Your brother's so-called breakthrough was made with the resources of my family. You're wrong. Big mistake. Zhou Xiaoyan said coldly. First, what Xiao Duo used that day can no longer be considered your family's resources. Because for this matter I asked Master for help, and Master agreed. Then Master directly arranged for Xiao Duo to go. From the beginning to the end, I did not directly contact you, nor did I directly ask you for help. Therefore, I do not owe your family any favors. The only one I owe is Master. In contrast, the one who owes your family a favor is also Master. For your family, you should understand the difference between the two, right? A favor is of course the most difficult to repay, but I do not owe you, nor do I owe your family any favors. Meng Chunyu bit her lip and said after a while, "That's right, you do not owe me." "Yes, I do not owe you, nor do I owe your family any favors. If I must say that I owe you a favor at most, I will let you train Xiao Duo a little to be his sparring partner. If you think that I owe you, I can accept it. I can repay this favor." "Not to that extent. Not to that extent," Zhou Xiaonian said coldly. "For this matter I asked Master. Master personally called your father and finalized this matter. In fact, it has nothing to do with you. But you, after this matter, used your family's resources as a reason to agree to have a meal with your brother, right? I agreed at that time, but I did not want to complicate matters, so I agreed to it. Is this the whole story?" "Yes. This matter was my own initiative. In the name of family resources, I asked for this condition that was somewhat difficult for you. But I did not have any bad intentions from beginning to end. My brother likes you so much." "We have not talked about your brother yet," Zhou Xiaonian interrupted. "I just want to ask you one thing. Maybe you did not realize it yourself, but you used this method to force me to have a meal with your brother. Do you think your senior sister is any different from a hostess? Even if it is a blind date, it needs to be consensual. Now, you use this condition to exchange for it. How much importance do you place on this matter? Do you have the slightest respect for me?" Meng Chunyu's face immediately paled. "I definitely did not mean that. From the beginning to the end, I didn't want to go to this meal. This was my original attitude. Also, I never promised you that I would eat this meal alone. In the end, whether or not I brought someone else with me, what does it matter if I brought anyone with me? Just now you said that your brother likes me so much. So this meal was arranged. But have you ever considered that I like your brother? Just because your brother likes me, you arranged for a single woman to have a meal with a single man like your brother. Do you think that this is acceptable?" "Yes, I will not deny that it was my brother who rashly interfered and became the third wheel on this date. Naturally, he became the main culprit that ruined this date." Zhou Xiaonian sneered. "But who told you? This was a date between a man and a woman? Based on your one-sided approval?" Meng Chunyu took a deep breath. "Senior sister, could it be that you do not feel that for such an outstanding man to sincerely invite you, you should give him a chance to pursue you?" Zhou Xiaonian sneered. "Junior sister, my brother's Wuxiao Duo is handsome, talented, courageous, and a genius in cultivation. You look passable. How about you become his concubine? I feel that you are quite suitable." Meng Chunyu was dazed by Zhou Xiaonian's sudden words. After a while she finally said, "Senior sister, what nonsense are you saying? Why would I become your younger brother's concubine? What sort of connection is this?" Zhou Xiaonian wondered. "Could it be that you do not feel that my little brother is a dragon among men? He is an unparalleled talent. Being able to become his concubine is your fortune. How can you be so ungrateful?" Meng Chunyu was angered by Zhou Xiaonian's words. "Senior sister, your little brother may be very outstanding in your eyes, but in other people's eyes, he may not be that outstanding." Zhou Xiaonian sneered. "That's right, so you understand this principle. Then why do you think that I think your brother is very outstanding? Perhaps in your eyes, he is very outstanding, but in my eyes, your brother Meng Chuntian is not enough. There is no need to argue about who is right and who is wrong in this matter. After this matter, you two should have discussed it. You think Xiao Duo is an obstacle between me and your brother? So this time, when Master said that he was worried about Xiao Duo's safety and needed to secretly protect him, you volunteered yourself. But what you needed to do was not to protect Xiao Duo, but to watch him die with your own eyes. So when anything happened to Xiao Duo, you turned a blind eye. Even when he faced a life and death situation, you did not do anything. You just watched. Whether it was when Feng Cheng's third young master provoked you, or when Mu Yunfeng tried to kill him, you just stood by and watched. Even when Mu Yunfeng ran away, it was so that he would have another chance to sneak attack Xiao Duo again. But you still chose to stand by and watch. And as long as Xiao Duo died, even if Master investigated, you could say that you failed the mission and did not protect him well. You could pass, right? You calculated correctly. Even if Master scolded you, he would not be too harsh on you. Connecting all these things together, do you still have anything to say?" You don't have anything to say, but I do. Because even if this is the case, it still cannot explain why you would do this. The reason is not enough. Because a small matter like ruining a date is not enough to escalate the situation to this point of life and death. Meng Chunyu, what exactly are you thinking? What exactly are you doing? Meng Chunyu tightly shut her mouth and did not say a single word. Looking at this delicate face, Zhou Xiaonian's eyes became colder and colder. The killing intent also became thicker and thicker. She really did not think that the junior sister that she had always liked would do such a thing, because she could not understand it at all. What was the real reason? Was it just to ruin a date with her older brother? That was simply absurd. Killing the younger brother of the girl that she liked because a date was not successful? How could this sort of logic be explained? No matter how stupid Zhou Xiaonian was, she would not believe this sort of reasoning. Even if this reasoning was something that she herself had come up with, it would be the same. But this killing intent based on Meng Chunyu's reaction was clearly because of this. This was even more absurd. As for saying that an outstanding man should be given a chance, Zhou Xiaonian did not even think about this sort of reasoning. You, Meng Chunyu, are already a beautiful woman. When you do not have any feelings, would you like someone just because they are outstanding? Xiao Duo is already outstanding enough. Why don't you rush to his door because he is outstanding? This was what Zhou Xiaonian thought. It was just that she did not say it out loud. Thus there must be another reason. And this reason Zhou Xiaonian must know no matter what. Come with me. Let's go see Master. Zhou Xiaonian grabbed Meng Chunyu. I can't get an answer. But I don't believe that Master can't get an answer either. She grabbed Meng Chunyu and soared into the air, quickly flying away. Meng Chunyu did not resist at all. She only had a stubborn look on her face. The wind blew past. The grass in this area withered, and Mu Yunfeng's headless corpse quietly disappeared into the desolation. Chapter 143. What happened to Zhou Xiaonian was too far away from Qin Fangyang. Qin Fangyang didn't notice it at all. Qin Fangyang focused all his attention on treating the student's wounds. His face was unusually heavy and unsightly. Zhou Xiaoduo and the others' injuries weren't very serious. Other than Zhou Xiaoduo's back injury, the others' injuries weren't fatal. They would be fine after a little treatment. But with Mu Yunfeng lurking in the dark, it was a big deal. Mu Yunfeng had been teaching in Second High for many years, so he was very familiar with Second High's matters. Could it be that the previous two students were also killed by Mu Yunfeng? Not long after, the other teams of students also returned. Most of them were safe and sound. Only Song Ziheo's team had an accident. Song Ziheo and the others found a starlight vine hidden under the weeds near the edge of the martial master training area. When they were about to collect it, they were shocked to see that the starlight vine was dragged away by a small spirit beast. Vice Captain Zhou Xiaoma was unwilling to give up. He hurriedly chased after it, but because of this, he encountered a group of star beasts. He was pushed to the ground on the spot and almost lost his life. Fortunately, Song Ziheo and the others came in time and rushed into the group of star beasts to rescue him. After this incident, not only did they not get the starlight vine, Zhou Xiaoma's leg was also bitten off by the demonic beast. One of his legs was bitten into a bloody mess, and the worst thing was that one of the calf bones on his upper leg was torn off and taken away by the star beast. Song Ziheo prepared several kinds of medicine and tools to treat serious injuries, but they were all useless for this kind of injury. If they couldn't use the superior grade jade of Astral Soul's healing pod, a cripple was going to be born. After recovering from the shock, the whole team couldn't help but remember what Zhou Xiaoduo said yesterday. Everyone's face was full of awe. The third one, Song Ziheo. You're not bad, you're not in any danger. But the vice captain beside you is called Zhou Xiaoma, right? His face is full of bad luck. I'm afraid his leg will be seriously injured. Be careful, don't become disabled. This was Zhou Xiaoduo's comment yesterday. Looking at Zhou Xiaoma's leg injury, everyone felt their blood run cold. This was too accurate. Bai Bingbing hugged her calf and sat quietly on the side. She looked at everything with a smile. Occasionally, she glanced at Zhou Xiaoduo with a trace of inexplicable passion in her eyes. The members of the school bell team that she led all surrounded her. Their eyes flickered as they whispered into her ear. Sister Bing Bing, this was Xiao Duo. You must get him. Bai Bingbing smiled and bit her lips. Bing Bing. This kid is definitely good stuff. Bai Bingbing glared at him. Bing Bing, this is our chance. Look at the wound on his back. He can't reach it himself. Bai Bingbing hesitated. Bing Bing, if you're not going to do it, then I'm going to do it. At that time, don't say that I don't care about sisterhood. Humph. Bai Bingbing stood up and walked over. Humph, this bunch of little bitches, I knew you guys were in love. Let me do it. It's just that the current situation is a little serious. This Wuxia's performance is too good. Many of the girls can see that he has potential. If I act late, I'll only be at a disadvantage. I must act early. Otherwise, this good piece of meat will fall into the hands of others. Zhou Xiaoduo classmate. Bai Bingbing smiled very amiably. It was like a spring breeze intoxicating. Ah! Faced with this sudden sentence, Zhou Xiaoduo instinctively panicked. He turned his neck 3 or 4 times to observe the surroundings. Then he quickly took out a small mirror to look at his face. Well, he didn't look like he was going to be unlucky. It seemed that Nian Mao wasn't nearby. Then he turned his head reservedly. Bai. You're Bai. By something? He scratched his head, feeling a little awkward. I'm really hopeless. This girl in front of me seems to be one of the prettiest girls in the class, but I can't even remember her name. What a failure. Bai Bingbing smiled sweetly and didn't feel offended at all. I'm Bai Bingbing. Zhou Xiaoduo classmate, if you forget next time I can remind you again. But don't do it more than 3 times, okay? She put her hands behind her back, puffed out her chest, and pretended to be very fierce. If you do it more than 3 times I'll be angry. Oh, I'll remember this time. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded. Bai Bingbing, right? Why are you looking for me? I saw that you have injuries on your back. That place can't treat it well. There are already traces of blood. Why don't I treat it for you again? Bai Bingbing said with concern. This kind of injury can't be treated badly. It's okay. My skin is rough and I don't care about such small details. Faced with Bai Bingbing's fiery passion, Zhou Xiaoduo wanted to break out in cold sweat. He was already starting to feel dissatisfied. This little girl's conscience was simply too bad. My wound has already been bandaged properly, but looking at her attitude, it's obvious that she wants to take it apart and treat it again. Does this flesh not grow on your body? You don't know pain, right? With this kind of EQ, you actually want to chase after a handsome man. You're really a woman of steel. The treatment just now was really too rough. You'll definitely feel uncomfortable. Bai Bingbing took out a bottle of medicinal liquid from her pocket. Why don't you drink this? This is muscle revitalization powder. After drinking it, the wound will heal faster. Zhou Xiaoduo became more vigilant. This little girl's fawning was too brazen. She must have some ulterior motive. She must have taken a liking to my beauty. He tried his best to refuse. No, I'm almost healed. I've already drunk a bottle just now. If I drink more, it'll be a waste. Waste is the original sin. Wanli Xiao, Long Yuxing, and the others sat at the side. Looking at Zhou Xiaoduo being seduced, they all showed a naughty smile. There weren't many opportunities to see Zhou Xiaoduo in a difficult situation. How could they not seize it? Li Chenglong and Li Zhongming leaned together and whispered in each other's ears. That girl is seducing Zhou. I know, but why does Zhou look so vigilant? What's the meaning of this? Maybe he's playing hard to get. Playing hard to get? I don't think so. Zhou is wrinkling his nose. He's obviously allergic to Bai Bingbing's perfume. Allergic? That's a little exaggerated. She's such a beautiful girl. Why would he dislike her? Bai Bingbing sat down with Zhou Xiaoduo. However, just as she sat down, Zhou Xiaoduo hurriedly moved his butt to the side. Bai Bingbing was a little puzzled. She moved closer again and Zhou Xiaoduo moved again. What are you doing? Do you hate me so much? Bai Bingbing was about to cry. Cough. Zhou Xiaoduo's eyes turned wildly. Suddenly he shouted, Li Chenglong. What are you doing? Li Chenglong was confused. Hurry up and help me to the toilet. Ouch. I need to pee. I'm about to pee in my pants. He rushed to Li Chenglong's side, grabbed his shoulder and squeezed. There's a toilet nearby? Li Chenglong was confused. Who would be so free as to build a toilet here? Zwa, as long as you lower your head, there's a toilet everywhere. Ouch. I can't hold it anymore. Zwa ran away while peeing. At the level of martial master, with the help of elixirs, the recovery ability was very strong. Only Zhou Xiaoma, who was the most seriously injured, was carried back by Luo Lai. As long as he was treated properly, there was still hope for his injured leg to recover. Teng Hao and the other two were also brought back. They were escorted back by Lu Jianxing's three brothers. What awaited them was a strict interrogation. They were associated with Mu Yunfeng, which was equivalent to being associated with the UMNO Alliance. Now that they were associated with the UMNO Alliance, even if they didn't die, they would lose a layer of skin. It seemed that Zhou Xiaoduo's friendly agreement would be very difficult to take effect. After Zhou Xiaoduo came back from the toilet, he hurriedly started to check the goods with his small group. This experience and contribution points. It doesn't seem that difficult. Zhou Xiaoduo had already made a rough calculation. Including the contribution points that they plundered from Teng Hao and the other two, they had already earned about 9,000. According to Li Chenglong's estimation, it should be about 9,600. On average, the six of them would earn about 1,600 each. This number was quite a lot. Moreover, it was only the afternoon now. It's too easy. Thinking about the school's contribution points transaction table, Zhou Xiaoduo instantly felt that a pie had fallen from the sky. Hey, everyone's harvest is not bad, right? Zhou Xiaoduo asked tentatively. Zhao Zhongjun said happily, today's harvest is indeed not bad. It's much better than before. Our harvest today is already 63 points. It's only more, not less. His small group members' faces were full of satisfaction and pride. Jia Shernan said, our harvest is about the same. We are now sure that we have 59 contribution points. It's almost 60 points. Song Ziheo's face was a little gloomy. He said, our small group's harvest is not much. We only have 23 points now. We haven't even taken into account Zhou Xiaoma's injury reduction. Sigh. Bai Bingbing on the other side smiled and said, our harvest today is average. We only have 77 points. It didn't reach our initial expectations. There was actually a sense of pride and arrogance in her voice. Everyone's mouth twitched. It didn't reach our expectations, but it's already a lot more than us. Okay? However, Zhou Xiaoduo, Li Chenglong, Long Yuxing, Wan Li Xiao, Yu Moyan, and Li Zhongming's expressions became more and more strange as they listened. The six of them looked at each other. They were a little confused. 63 points and they were already satisfied? 77 points was already something to be proud of? Then wouldn't our harvest of 9,006 points be sky high? Should they say it or not? What about you guys? The other team leaders looked over at the same time. Everyone had an expression of, looking at the newbies making a fool of themselves. You just entered the martial arts masterclass. Do you recognize herbs? Just the nearly 1-foot-thick encyclopedia of spiritual herbs, the 3-foot-thick encyclopedia of ferocious beasts, and the even thicker encyclopedia of star beasts, would be enough to keep you busy for at least a few months. We can have our current achievements and have so many achievement points. That's the result of our daily hard work. Do you understand? You don't know how much effort we put in to get to where we are today. Do you think you can get it so easily? The others weren't disappointed or surprised at all when they saw the strange expressions on the faces of the members of Zhou Xiaoduo's team. They were tongue-tied and wanted to say something but didn't. It's normal to not gain anything. Zhao Zhongjun patted Zhou Xiaoduo's shoulder and comforted him. Don't take it to heart. We didn't gain anything during our first training. When we get used to this kind of atmosphere in the future and accumulate more experience, we will naturally gain something. Bai Bingbing smiled and said, yes, Xiaoduo. Don't be discouraged. I will teach you more when we go back. Wan Lixiu coughed and said, thank you very much. Ahem. Qin Fengyang coughed and glared at Zhou Xiaoduo as a warning. This kid was the only one who liked to show off. The others didn't care. Zhou Xiaoduo suddenly looked wronged. He looked at Qin Fengyang angrily but didn't dare to say anything. He asked silently, am I the kind of person who would show off? His expression almost made Qin Fengyang burst out laughing. He hurriedly turned around to control himself so that he wouldn't lose his composure in front of the students. You look like a puppy that has been wronged. How did you train yourself to look like that? Chapter 144. In the afternoon. Qin Fengyang did not let the students continue their training. Instead, he waited for Luo Lai to come back after everyone had recovered from their injuries. The two of them, one in front and one at the back, slowly retreated. The group walked for about half of the distance when they suddenly discovered something. Why is there a corpse here? The traces are very fresh. Isn't this Mu Yunfeng? Who killed him? Everyone stepped forward to take a closer look, only to see that the surrounding vegetation was all withered. Although Mu Yunfeng's corpse was already headless, that emaciated body was still very familiar. Coupled with some of the markings on the body, it was very easy to identify. Who did it? Qin Fengyang and Luo Lai looked around, but they were confused and could not figure it out. After Mu Yunfeng attacked Wuxia Duo, he was pursued by Lu Jiansheng and the others. But didn't he already escape? How could he die here without a trace? There are traces of ice around here. Qin Fengyang took a look and said decisively. Luo Lai nodded to show his agreement. Then he said with a suspicious face, "But I have never heard of an expert who practiced ice techniques in Phoenix City." Wuxia Duo looked at the traces of ice and his pupils suddenly shrank. He secretly glanced at Bai Bingbing and could not help but shudder. "Mummy, did Nyan Cat find out that this girl was pestering me just now? This is too dangerous. That's not right. Why didn't Nyan Cat appear? Could it be that she was too angry and just left?" Thinking about this, Wuxia Duo became even more nervous. His face turned pale and his head was filled with the uneasiness of being caught cheating. His whole body was restless. Then he inexplicably felt that his ears were hurting and his butt was uncomfortable. His whole body was wrinkled and seemed to be uncomfortable everywhere. Finished. Wuxia Duo am the hero of this generation. There seems to be a faint fragrance here. Qin Fengyang wrinkled his nose. He suddenly bent down and sniffed the grass on the ground. He walked forward and stopped after walking for more than 10 feet. He said, "This was done by a woman." Moreover, there were 2 women present at the time. The fragrance is different. The smell of blood mixed with the woman's fragrance. After leaving the range of the smell of blood, it became clearer. But with the ambience of the scene and the smell mixed together, we can basically confirm that Mu Yunfeng was killed without any resistance. That's why the headless corpse is so complete and the scene is not messy. In Phoenix City, there aren't many female experts who can kill Mu Yunfeng with this kind of cultivation. If Mu Yanyan personally made a move, Mu Yunfeng naturally wouldn't even have the time to react. But the neck of Mu Yunfeng's corpse clearly showed signs of wrinkling, which meant that he had the tendency to raise his head to look. So the one who did it was most likely not Mu Yanyan. I think the person who did this is most likely the legendary spiritual thought goddess, Qin Fengyang said. The 2 women who appeared at the scene are both young women. It is said that Mu Yanyan has 2 female disciples. One of them is a spiritual cultivator, and the other is her junior sister. Luo Lai nodded. Then, it's the 2 of them? Qin Fengyang nodded and straightened his back. 80%. That's enough. Wuxia Duo looked at Qin Fengyang sniffing and casually observing, and was actually able to directly deduce the truth. He was also shocked. Qin Fengyang's eyesight and experience could only be described with the word terrifying. After that, everyone went all the way back to the school and didn't encounter any more accidents. Then they went to the General Affairs office to exchange contribution points. Everyone present began to be stunned and began to doubt the time of their lives. How could Wuxia Duo and the others not know the benefits of making a fortune in silence? They really didn't want to show off their wealth, but Zhao Zhongjun, Song Zihao by Bingbing, and the others had finished exchanging but didn't leave. The first 2 obviously wanted to seize Wuxia Duo, and the others make a fool of themselves. And Bai Bingbing wanted to see them make a fool of themselves, and take the opportunity to comfort Wuxia Duo and get closer to each other. After all, the gains and losses of a moment had nothing to do with the overall situation. But Wuxia's physiognomy was the real treasure. How could she not hug such a golden thigh as soon as possible? But this one look caused a huge impact on human nature and human nature. In any case, in countless aspects. They watched with blank eyes as Li Chenglong and the others took off the big and small bags on their backs and piled them on top of the pile. And then the contribution points weren't calculated by 3. 5 points, 10 points, 30 points, 50 points, or even hundreds, but by thousands. This pile 4,000. This pile 1,800. This pile 2,300. This pile. He remembered that when he and the others handed over their items, it was always, this one 5 points, this one 3 points. Looking at the others, they were all piling up. The 41 senior students of class 19 were all dumbfounded and dumbfounded. When did contribution points become so easy to get? Zhao Zhongjun was dumbfounded. This is too much, too much. Jia Shernan muttered to himself. Fuck, 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 fuck. Song Zihao kept swallowing his saliva, but he was too uncultured. Only these 2 words could express his shock and surprise at the moment. The total is. The teacher in the General Affairs Department fiddled with the abacus for a while. 9,880 points. How do you plan to distribute it? As she spoke, she took out 6 blank contribution cards. The teacher was very satisfied. The final result of the calculation was a few hundred points more than Li Chenglong's previous calculation. Most of the items handed in by these students were actually rare herbs that other students couldn't find previously. Naturally, there were a few hundred more points. There were even a few kinds of herbs that the school didn't have in stock anymore. Let's divide it equally. Thank you, teacher, Zhuo Duo said calmly. The middle-aged teacher in the General Affairs Department looked at him in surprise. Divide it equally? It was really rare to see a team that used such an equal distribution method. 6 people, 1,640 points each. And then the remaining 70 points will divide it again at the next contribution point. Zhuo Duo said very calmly. Okay. The middle-aged woman swiped and swiped 6 cards worth 1,640 points. Then she took out another card and swiped 70 points. After swiping, she frowned. The remaining card is shared among all of you. Just leave it at the General Affairs Department. The remaining 70. The middle-aged woman grabbed the abacus again and tapped it for a while. Then she looked up suspiciously. Zhuo Duo, right? Who's your math teacher? There was a burst of laughter all around. Qin Fengyang's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. As expected, Zhuo Duo said innocently, my teacher is Qin Fengyang. What's wrong with that? Teacher? The middle-aged woman adjusted her glasses and looked at Qin Fengyang. Teacher Qin, your teaching is a little biased. Qin Fengyang was speechless. There are only 40 points left. Your student can't count well. The middle-aged woman swiped and scratched off another 30 points. Then she was done. She continued to chatter, Teacher Qin, even a martial artist needs to know how to count. You have to teach him a little bit of this. Otherwise, when he enters society, he might be at a disadvantage. Qin Fengyang's lips squirmed and he said dryly, okay, I'll teach him. I'll teach him later. He thought to himself, Zhuo Duo will be at a disadvantage when he enters society? That's impossible, this kid doesn't bask in the limelight of others. Others should be celebrating. But I'll have to teach him well later. Counting math. Biased. I'll teach you to be biased. Qin Fengyang gritted his teeth and led the class back to the classroom with a darkened expression. Now, each of you can use your contribution points to exchange at the place you want to go. Before he finished speaking, Qin Fengyang slapped Zhuo Duo and sent him rolling into the classroom. I'll go to the principal's office. When I come back, I'll teach you how to count properly. Let's settle the score. Zhuo Duo sat up from the ground with a dumbfounded expression. Why did you hit me? What did I do? You can't teach your students well. You're angry because you're humiliated by others, and now you're taking your anger out on me? Zhuo Duo was indignant. Not only did he not get the 30 contribution points, he even had to be beaten up. Where can I go to reason with this? Qin Fengyang had already left in a hurry. No matter what, the death of 6 students was a big matter. It had to be reported to the principal. Qin Fengyang had to pass this hurdle. In the principal's office, Xin Yushu and the other parents of the 6 families were already waiting. They had already called back with the grievous news. Now the initial hysteria had passed. They were only waiting for the children's remains to be returned. Every parent's eyes were red and swollen. A few of them were full of regret. They beat their chests and stomped their feet. We shouldn't have let them go. A few parents were so regretful that their intestines were swollen. Qin Fengyang pushed the door open and entered. Those red and swollen eyes immediately turned to look at him like hungry wolves. They're back. Qin Fengyang's expression was heavy. The children's remains have been brought back. It's just that they're very incomplete. Their small team was besieged by a group of three-tailed tigers. There were more than 10 of them. I've already killed all of them. Qin Fengyang recounted the entire incident in detail. After that, he did not say anything else. At this moment, Shen Yushu stood up with red eyes. Qin Fengyang. Every word was enunciated clearly. Qin Fengyang raised his head and said indifferently, "What advice do you have for me?" Advice? Regarding this matter, don't you have anything else to say? Shen Yushu huffed and puffed, his gaze cold. Qin Fengyang said indifferently, "I've already told you everything that happened just now. I don't think I have anything else to say." Shen Yushu looked at Qin Fengyang like a wolf. "You mean to say that my son died in vain?" A few other parents had the same expression on their faces. Only 3 or 4 people's eyes were full of regret. However, there was not much resentment. "President Shen, I don't quite understand what you're saying. Qin Fengyang, you brought my son out for training. They're all dead. Yet you came back safe and sound. You're saying you don't understand?" Shen Yushu was so angry that he laughed. "Qin Fengyang, my son, how can he die in vain? That I'll do my best. 6th watch. My hands are cramping. Please support me. Monthly votes, subscriptions, recommendation tickets. Of course, it would be better if there were rewards. I'll go home and rest. For the sake of the 6th watch, let's forget about Zhao Li's matter." Chapter 145. Qin Fengyang took a deep breath and said, "Just yesterday, I called every parent here. Only Shen Tainan and the others didn't look well and weren't suitable to participate in this training. If they forced themselves to participate, they might encounter danger. I mentioned it seriously, but you answered the call yourselves, right? It was also you who promised me that you wouldn't let your children participate in this training." Qin Fengyang said coldly, "Now that things have come to this, I'm not afraid to tell you. I was worried that they would be stubborn and insist on participating in this training. Yesterday afternoon, I broke their legs with my own hands. I wanted them to stay at home obediently and avoid this calamity. But I never thought that all of you would be so resourceful. In just one night, you completely healed their shattered bones and sent them on the path of death that had already deviated." Qin Fengyang sighed softly. "Now you're asking me for an explanation? I, Qin Fengyang, have already done everything I could. What explanation can I give you? From what you're saying, you don't have any responsibility." Shen Yushu looked like he was about to explode. "That's right. I don't think I have any responsibility or fault. Even if I didn't warn you and didn't do anything, I still don't have any responsibility. Or you can directly ask me what responsibility I have. What else can I do?" "What can I do?" Qin Fengyang said indifferently. "As the parents of martial arts students, everyone here has signed a waiver with your children. Everyone knows this. When students go out to train, they are responsible for their own life and death. The fate of martial artists is also like this. If it's not life, then it's death. I understand your feelings. I also understand your feelings. But things have already come to this. There's no point in venting your anger. The most important thing now is to bury your children in peace." Qin Fengyang said calmly, "Parents, please restrain your grief." "Ha ha 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 ha." Shen Yushu let out a long, ear-piercing laugh like a night owl. "My son is dead. And you want to let this matter pass with just a sentence of restrain your grief?" Qin Fengyang was silent and didn't say anything. Shen Yushu's eyes looked at him like a wolf. "Teacher Qin Fengyang, do you have a son?" Qin Fengyang shook his head. His eyes filled with disappointment. "I don't." "Then do you have parents?" "They've already passed away." "Do you have a wife?" "I do, but she's been missing for almost 100 years. Theoshan, what do you want to say? Why don't you just say it?" "Ha ha 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 ha, so Teacher Qin is a single man," Shen Yushu said viciously. "No wonder when someone else's son died. You only said restrain your grief. Let me tell you, Qin Fengyang, this matter is not over." "Yes, this is not over." The other parents roared angrily. Qin Fengyang sneered, "Are you done talking to me? Why don't you think about whether you've fulfilled your duty as parents? I warned you in advance that your children might be in danger on this trip. You promised me in front of me and thanked me profusely. Then you turned around and clearly knew that your children might be in danger, but you didn't even inform me. I even found out about Shin Tainan and the others from a third party. What reason do you have? What face do you have to tell me that this matter is not over? If you had just sent me a message and said that you didn't manage to persuade your children, that's fine. I'll still think of a way. Why didn't you even send me a message? The faces of the parents turned ugly when they heard this. You, Qin Fengyang, caused the death of our sons, and you still think you're in the right. Li Changjiang hurriedly stepped forward to smooth things over. Mr. Shun, you're being unreasonable. We're a martial arts school. The first rule for martial artists to enter the path of cultivation is to be willing to take responsibility for their own life and death. We've already signed the disclaimer. Secondly, in order to prevent a disaster from happening, Mr. Qin first broke their legs to prevent them from participating in the training. Then he called you to explain the situation. This double insurance is to prevent the children from going out. It can be said that he has already avoided the possibility of this disaster to the greatest extent. Teacher Qin has really done all he can. Besides supervisor, we checked the city gate records after the incident. Your children left the city 1.5 hours earlier than the other teams. And Mr. Qin didn't know about it. Secondly, he has to be responsible for most of the children. As the leader of the team, it's impossible for him to only focus on your children. Now that communication is so advanced, why didn't any of you think of informing Teacher Qin that Shantianan's team is coming to participate in this training? After all, Teacher Qin had already called to not let them participate. If there isn't a big reason, why would he do that? In the end, it was your child who violated the rules and entered an area that martial masters and cultivators were not allowed to enter. Thus, you can't blame Teacher Qin for this. One of the parents said coldly, "Why can't he be blamed? Maybe it's because he broke my son's legs that caused this disaster." Yes. How can a person whose legs are broken avoid death? A teacher who broke the legs of students who are about to participate in the training. How can he be a teacher? Who? Qin Fengyang is the murderer. It's fair to kill someone to pay with their life. Li Changjiang was getting more and more angry. Everyone, you're twisting words and forcing logic. How did people whose legs are broken walk out of their houses at 5:30 in the morning? How did they walk out of the city? Are you really not worried? Anyway, it's Qin Fengyang's fault. Now that my son is dead, Qin Fengyang must pay with his life. Yes, Qin Fengyang must pay with his life. This vicious teacher caused the death of our child. He must give us a satisfactory explanation for this matter. Shda. For a moment, vicious words came out like a tide. Li Changjiang realized that it was impossible to reason with them now, and no one listened to him. Humans were just that strange. In the face of many acceptable incidents, everyone would be reasonable and fair. They also hoped that the other party would be reasonable and fair. But in the face of some unacceptable incidents, almost no one would be reasonable. Even more so, no one would care about fairness. Especially when this kind of incident happened in a group, it would be even more unreasonable. As for the promise that these parents made yesterday to not let their sons go out, everyone chose to forget about it. They didn't dare to think about it, much less admit that it was their connivance that caused the death of their children. Even though they regretted it so much, but strangely, their hatred for Qin Fengyang was also increasing. This was a very strange mentality. The situation was getting more and more chaotic, developing towards the direction of losing control. Dong dong dong. Knocking sounds came from the door. A wheelchair was pushed in. Old principal. Everyone bowed at the same time. Even people like Shin Yushu, whose eyes were red and had been blinded by hatred and sorrow, were no exception. He Yuanyua's indifferent gaze swept across everyone's faces, and said calmly, "This incident came so suddenly, it's sad, and it's also hard to accept. It's understandable that everyone needs to vent their emotions. However, everyone, please listen to what I have to say and then decide what to do next. The fate of martial artists has always been like this. Firstly, there's a disclaimer. Secondly, Qin Fengyang has already taken precautions in advance. He even informed all the parents to not allow Shin Tainan and the other students to participate in this training. Thirdly, Shun Tainan and the others entered the forbidden area recklessly, which led to the deaths of so many people. Therefore, I now announce the school's opinion on Qin Fangyang's punishment. He will be given a major demerit, and will be fined 1 year's salary. This is the school's attitude. He Yuanyue said. If you are dissatisfied with the school's decision, you can privately negotiate with teacher Qin Fangyang, and our school will no longer bear any responsibility for this incident. That's all. Teacher Qin. Yes. Hand over the students' remains to the parents, and then you may leave. Yes. He Yuanyue forcefully put an end to this matter. No matter how unwilling Shen Yushu and the others were, they did not dare to say another word to He Yuanyue at this moment. Shen Yushu said fiercely, Qin Fangyang, just you wait. Qin Fangyang handed the ring to Li Changjiang, turned around and left calmly as if nothing had happened. Every year or even every month second high, and all martial arts schools will face this kind of situation. He Yuanyue's face was unusually tired, and she said, Zio Shan, let me give you a word of advice. My condolences and don't cause any more trouble. In life there must be a reason. After He Yuanyue finished speaking, she left without saying a word. An hour later, at the entrance of second high, Shen Yushu held his son's broken body, his eyes red, and his teeth clenched. Qin Fangyang, you must pay for my son's death with your life. And that's Wuxia Duo. On what basis did he say that my son would die? A little bastard spouting nonsense, cursing my son. This must be a curse. I won't forgive you. The faces of the 6 children's parents were filled with grief, including Shen Yushu. Although their faces were filled with anger and ruthless words, they were also filled with deep regret. That's right, Qin Fangyang clearly called yesterday, and did not allow the children to participate. There was a death sentence. Why did he push his own son onto the path of death? It was only a day's training, so what if he did not go? Even if he allowed them to go, calling Qin Fangyang or sending a message was as easy as lifting a finger. It was not even considered labor, so why did he not do it? So regretful. More and more regret, but it also caused more and more hatred. Human nature was like this. When a normal accident happened, people would instinctively shift the blame, not to mention this kind of unacceptable thing. How could he bear the responsibility himself? His lively and energetic son had turned into a pile of minced meat in his hands. He Qin Fangyang was the teacher leading the team. If he did not take responsibility, who would? Did I cause the death of my precious son? Even I don't believe these words. Of course I regret it, but no matter how much I regret it, I can't forgive Qin Fangyang and Wuxia Duo. Shen Yushu's gaze was fierce. I suspect that Wuxia Duo is the one who cast the curse. And Qin Fangyang went to break our son's leg. It was premeditated. These 2 people are the main culprits. After the incident, we still have to call him to inform him? Why should we inform him? He is the teacher leading the team. My son is a high school student. It's natural for him to come to school. Is there a need to inform him? Do we still have to call the school teacher every night? My son is going to school tomorrow? Ridiculous. Since ancient times there has been no such logic. When the parents heard Shen Yushu's words, they inexplicably felt that this actually made sense. Chapter 146. Qin Fangyang sat cross-legged on a high platform a few hundred feet away from the school gate. He stared at the few families at the school gate and sighed silently. With his cultivation base, he could not miss a single word of what these people said. He understood that it was normal for the parents to have such a reaction. Whose child was not a precious treasure? How could the parents not be sad when their child died in an accident? Not sad. It was understandable for them to be angry and sad, and even take their anger out on others. But everyone was facing such a cruel world. Life and death happened in the blink of an eye. It was really just a matter of a breath. Since they had chosen this martial path, they would have to live with death for the rest of their lives. I did everything I should and shouldn't have done, but I still couldn't save that child from death. I really couldn't do anything. But for this matter, it's fine if you take your anger out on me, but to take it out on Wuxia Duo, isn't your temper too bad? Whoosh! Luo Lai quietly landed beside him. How is it? It must be a little uncomfortable. It'll be fine once you get used to it. Yes, I was in charge of the martial warrior class before, so I really didn't come into contact with this kind of thing. Sai, this kind of thing happens every year. Most of the time it happens a few times a month. Once you get used to it, you'll get used to it. We also hope that every child can live healthily. But in reality it can't be done. Training is to cultivate their ability to face life and death. Since it's a matter of life and death, it's normal for accidents to happen. The students can safely stay in Phoenix City after graduation, so their safety is higher. But for those who swear to serve the country and protect the mainland, if 1 out of 10 goes to Sun Moon Pass, it's already not bad. Qin Fengyang mocked, in other words, the more a man cares about his country, the faster he dies? Can you understand it this way? The more a coward drags out an ignoble existence, the longer he can live? Luo Lai sighed. He really wanted to refute, but this was the truth. Luo Lai said, in this world, because of the external environment, there are such rules. We can't do anything about it. We can't do anything about the deaths and injuries caused by the students. Similarly, there are also parents who are angry because of their deep affection for their children. We can't do anything about it either. After all, we all share the same heart. Qin Fengyang asked with interest, how did the previous parents and teachers deal with it? I can't handle it. As I mentioned earlier, the premise of this situation is that the current external environment is not the same as the previous peaceful technological era. When such a thing happens, we can only deal with it coldly. If any of their children attend the martial arts school, the school will give them free tuition. But in this kind of family, even if they still have children, they won't go to this martial arts school, or they won't go to this martial arts school. However, you have to be careful for the next period of time. This Chen Yushu's power is not small. Looking at his performance today, he will definitely deal with you. Qin Fengyang nodded silently. I know. I'll be careful. In the past, there were also teachers who suffered from the revenge of their parents. It is said that there was once a teacher who was seriously injured in order to protect his students. He was bedridden. But because of the death of his son, the angry parents rushed to the teacher's house and beat the whole family to death. This kind of thing is not uncommon. Luo Lai sighed. Qin Fengyang was stunned. There's such a thing? Not only such a thing, but such things are too common. Luo Lai patted Qin Fengyang's shoulder. In this kind of world, what is impossible? I'm telling you these things so that you can be prepared and be more careful. Qin Fengyang's gaze was deep. I know. Thank you for the reminder. His gaze was unhurried and had an indescribable meaning. No wonder Chen Yushu wanted to ask about my family, my son, my wife. Ha ha. He has a lot of ideas. Let's go and drink. It's better not to go. Qin Fengyang said. My other students are all in the cultivation pagoda. I want to see them come out. I know. Luo Lai left. Before he left, he said, don't leave the school in the near future. Qin Fengyang sat quietly and did not reply. When Zhou Xiaoduo entered the 5x gravity room, it was 4 in the afternoon. Since he had a lot of contribution points in hand, Zhou was rich and overbearing. He simply spent 2 hours farming contribution points. Let's test the quality first. It was only 20 contribution points. It was nothing. The door of the gravity room opened. Zhou Xiaoduo valiantly walked in. Gravity room, I'm coming. Regarding the gravity room, Mu Yanyan had mentioned it to him before. Zhou Xiaonian had mentioned it before. Yi Yuanyue had mentioned it before. Qin Fengyang had also mentioned it countless times. As a result, Zhou Xiaoduo had been drooling over this training place for a long time. No matter if it was training hidden weapons, normal martial arts, or movement techniques, the gravity room was the best choice. 5x gravity. The moment Zhou Xiaoduo entered the gravity room, he felt his body suddenly sink. The first thing he felt was that his body suddenly became much heavier. It was as if there were countless forces pressuring him from all directions at the same time. It was hard for him to bear. He just wanted to lie down on the ground and relieve the pressure. After a while, an extremely sticky feeling made it difficult for him to even breathe. Zhou Xiaoduo had expected these negative feelings after being informed by Zhou Xiaonian and the others. He tried to adjust his breathing as he walked in step by step until he reached the center of the room. Ha! With a light shout, he got into a stance. Star picking palm. Originally, when entering the gravity room for the first time, The most important thing to do was to adapt to the environment. This meant that he had to slowly adapt from the basics such as the horse dance, finger presses, sit-ups, and so on. However, Zhuo Duo was already at the peak of the martial master level. He didn't need to start from these most basic steps. He directly started to practice his fist and palm. However, after just one practice of the star-picking palm, Zhuo Duo was already sweating profusely. He was exhausted. This is not good. It's only 5x gravity, the lowest level. Why is it so uncomfortable? Zhuo Duo had an idea. He started to practice the Flaming Sun Sutra, practicing his fist and palm at the same time. As he practiced the Flaming Sun Sutra, the spiritual energy in his body became abnormally lively. He immediately felt that the negative feelings lingering in his body were reduced by a lot. Therefore, he started to practice controlling his breathing rate. The longer he stayed in the gravity room, the more he realized that once his breathing rhythm got messed up, he wouldn't be able to do anything. He might even be tormented to death, which was the worst-case scenario. Zhuo Duo slowly breathed in and out. He continued to circulate the Flaming Sun Sutra, causing the temperature of the room to soar. Soon the room became unbearably hot. This feeling is similar to being in a sauna. Furthermore, it's steaming, boiling, and splashing water at the same time. Zhuo Duo tried his best to hold on. He used the star-picking palm and used the star-picking step. However, after 2 rounds of punches, Zhuo Duo was really out of strength. He fell to the ground with a thud, his whole body sweating profusely. He felt as if his entire body, torso, stomach, thighs, and chest were all being sucked into the ground. And even his second brother was no exception. He was also firmly sucked into the ground. The reason why he could feel it so clearly was because his second brother had straightened up after circulating his blazing sun Zhan Qi. The feeling was exceptionally obvious. Just as Master Nian Mao said, I have to get used to the current gravity before I can talk about using it to train. As for hidden weapons, that's a topic for later. Zhuo Duo was determined. He rested for an average of 2 to 3 minutes before he got up, and continued to practice the star-picking palm, dragon gate leg, and star-picking step. When he couldn't take it anymore, he prostrated himself on the ground. Yes, prostrating himself on the ground. He repeated this process once, twice, and thrice under this extreme tempering. Zhuo Duo could clearly feel the surging sound of the Flaming Sun Sutra's origin energy circulating in his meridians. He could also hear the sound of his blood flowing continuously, as well as the creaking sound of his bones being unable to bear the burden. However, he focused and persevered without any distractions. Later on, he didn't even prostrate himself on the ground. Even if he didn't have any strength left, he wasn't willing to prostrate himself on the ground anymore. Instead, he stood up straight. Lines of sweat flowed down from his chest like a waterfall. Oh no, I forgot to bring water in. Zhuo Duo was startled by this thought and his eyes immediately looked around. Yes, the setup of this gravity room was quite user-friendly. There was a tap in the corner. Not bad, not bad. It solved his urgent problem. In fact, the gravity room was the place that consumed the most energy and sweat. If there was really no water to replenish the energy, it was very likely that the students would die in there. How could the school not think of this and make preparations beforehand? Under such a difficult environment, Zhuo Duo had been tormenting himself to the limit for 2 whole hours. Time and time again, he tormented himself to the limit. After adjusting his breathing for a moment, he continued tormenting himself. When he reached the limit again, he took another breath. Even when he drank water, he tried his best to control himself and only drank a total of 2 times. However, he ate a lot of various pills. There were only 5 minutes left before the gravity machine could be used again. Suddenly, whoosh! A cool and refreshing feeling descended from the sky without any warning. Another drop of luck quietly arrived, causing Zhuo's extremely tired body to suddenly be filled with vitality again. Even his meridians expanded a little. Big brother, you should have come earlier. This time it wasn't just 1 drop of luck, but a full 1.5 drops. Including the new luck points, Zhuo Duo had a total of 6 drops in his hands. He couldn't help but have the illusion that he had become a tycoon in one fell swoop. He really became rich overnight. This time when the luck points arrived, the first drop was a full one, but the next half drop was divided into waves and half a drop was gathered bit by bit. And this result made Zhou Xiaoduo realize something came true. The death calamity that he had predicted for Shen Tainan had come true. Only then did he get a full drop. As for the other groups, because they were all scared but not in danger, there were no casualties, so it didn't cause any fluctuations in fate. As a result, there weren't many luck points feedback. But even so, the 7 groups only had half a point, and Zhou Xiaoduo was still satisfied. Chapter 147. Putting everything else aside, these new luck points would allow him to complete the last round of training in the gravity machine, allowing him to improve even more. In the last 5 minutes, Zhou Xiaoduo unleashed all his strength. He used the star-plucking palm, Dragon Gate kick, and Galaxy Step in tandem. He used all his strength in every move and executed them 7 times in a row. At the last second, Zhou Xiaoduo finally stopped his movement after the final kick. The door of the gravity room opened again, but Zhou Xiaoduo's remaining strength wasn't enough to support him to walk out. He could only lie on the ground like a dead dog, panting heavily with his tongue out. If the teacher in charge of the gravity room hadn't come in to check the situation and dragged Zhou Xiaoduo out like a dead dog, no one knew how long Zhou Xiaoduo would have stayed in this position. "How is it?" Qin Fengyang came. "This student of yours is really extraordinary." The teacher in charge of the gravity room didn't know how to comment. He raised his thumb and said, he didn't waste a single second of the 2 hours of 5 times gravity training. When he walked into the gravity room, there were a few obvious puddles on the ground that were rapidly drying up. The circles of salt stains and white lines were especially eye-catching. "This is all sweat." The teacher was even more surprised. "You're so harsh on yourself." Seeing Qin Fengyang dragging Zhou Xiaoduo away, the teacher was convinced and raised his thumb. "Teacher Qin, as long as there are no accidents, this student of yours will definitely be like this in the future." Qin Fengyang smiled, feeling gratified. His face, which had been gloomy for a long time because of Shen Tianan's matter, suddenly brightened up. "I think so too." Seeing Qin Fengyang walk away, the teacher returned to the gravity room. The gravity room also needed to be cleaned. Basically, every user who entered would leave behind a pool of smelly sweat. If it wasn't cleaned up early, the gravity room would definitely smell worse than a latrine pit. The teacher went in to clean as usual. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong and turned to look. "This isn't right. Why is there a layer of softness on the wall?" Qin Feng dragged Zhou Xiaoduo for about 10 meters before Zhou Xiaoduo was able to walk on his own and move freely. This was easy to understand. Zhou Xiaoduo had to withstand 5 times his body weight in the gravity room. Moreover, he had just learned it, so it was easy to imagine how fast his stamina was being consumed. Now that he was outside, everything was back to normal, so his stamina naturally recovered quickly. However, as he walked, Zhou Xiaoduo suddenly realized that his entire body was as light as a feather, as if he could float at any time. "This gravity room is so useful." Zhou Xiaoduo was pleasantly surprised. This was because he discovered that under this kind of gravitational cultivation, it had the effect of purifying the spiritual energy within his body. Qin Fengyang rolled his eyes at the silly bird. Of course it was useful. Otherwise, why would the cost of using the gravity machine be so high? How did it feel to cultivate for the first time? "It's all right." "What have you done?" "It's just practicing punches and kicks, practicing martial arts and footwork." That's the right thing to do. Only when you're used to the gravity and pressure and have a solid foundation will you be qualified to talk about hidden weapons cultivation. You did well. Hehe. When you practice hidden weapons in the future, remember to bring your target in. Qin Fengyang said, "Don't practice other places. Just focus on the throat, heart, eyes, and ears. These are good enough." The focus is on the eyes and ears. These 2 places are the most important. Do you understand the key? Understood. Zhou Xiaoduo silently added the genitals in his heart before asking, "Why?" For the experts of the UMNO Alliance, the throat and heart aren't fatal points. In other words, these 2 places have the strongest protection. As for the human body, no matter how strong an expert is, compared to other parts of the body, the eyes and ears are always the weakest. If you think about it from another perspective, aren't these parts the weakest parts of the body? Qin Fengyang said lightly, "Legend has it that the UMNO Alliance had an ancient witch god. This god's head was chopped off, But he continued to fight against the heavenly court. The more he fought, the braver he became. That's awesome. Zhuo clicked his tongue. If we really meet such an expert, what's the use of hidden weapons? The only thing I can think of is attacking the primordial spirit. Qin Fengyang wasn't sure either. He said, but that kind of realm. We can only dream about it. Maybe you'll have a chance thousands of years later, but I definitely won't in my lifetime. Teacher Qin, you've unified the Jianghu for thousands of years. Your future is boundless. Get lost. The sky was already dark. I'll send you home, Qin Fengyang said. You send me home? Zhuo was surprised by Qin Fengyang's decision. I'll send you home. I'll send you to school and back these few days. Qin Fengyang's expression was a little cold. Zhuo even felt an inexplicable murderous aura flowing around Qin Fengyang's body. It was fierce, and indestructible. Qin Fengyang's current appearance was completely different from the teacher Qin Zhuo remembered. The teacher and disciple walked side by side on Zhuo's way home. Zhuo noticed that Qin Fengyang seemed to be deliberately slowing down. Teacher Qin, we can walk faster. Zhuo felt that there was something wrong with the current atmosphere. Even with his shallow aura viewing technique, which could not even be considered as a beginner, he could actually see that the road ahead was filled with a faint blood color. It's okay. Walk slowly, there's no hurry. Qin Fengyang smiled faintly and kindly. Teacher is here, it's okay. Zhuo nodded. His eyes lit up. Zhuo was a smart person. He could understand the meaning behind Qin Fengyang's words. He had already guessed what Qin Fengyang was going to do. Duo, from today onwards, I'll use myself as an example on the way home. I'll give you a lesson on the Jianghu, the border, and the battlefield. Qin Fengyang said calmly as he walked, these days, I've observed your moves over and over again. I've discovered that your heart is unexpectedly soft. You have plenty of time and opportunities to strike at your opponent's throat, heart, back of head, and other vital parts. But you chose to kick the crotch. Others may be confused by you, but I won't. You're just soft-hearted and don't want to kill. Kicking the crotch is an excellent way to effectively paralyze your opponent's attack power. Qin Fengyang said solemnly, but this is the way the world is now. If you don't want to kill, you can only be killed. Then tell me, is it better to kill or be killed? Qin Fengyang's body suddenly floated into the air. The moment he flew up, 2 masked men rushed out from the corner. 7 or 8 masked men jumped down from the roof of the nearby building. In a trance, a magnificent sword light pierced through the sky like a lightning bolt, stunning the dusk sky. Even the street lamps on the roadside were overshadowed by the brilliance of the brilliant sword light. Qin Fengyang's body circled around the field like a goshawk and landed beside Zhuo again. Clang! He sheathed his sword and walked forward slowly. His voice was indifferent and calm. You must be ruthless to your enemies. If you can kill 10, you must not only kill 9. Whether it's a hidden weapon or a weapon, you must be steady, accurate, ruthless, and ruthless. Behind the 2 of them, of the 10 masked men who came with ill intentions, 4 on the left, 4 on the right, and 2 at the back, they all slowly fell to the ground. Then 10 heads rolled off their necks almost at the same time, rolling back and forth on the ground like big watermelons. The strong smell of blood instantly filled the whole street, turning the originally quiet street into a blood pool hell. Do you know why? Looking at Zhuo's faintly pale face, Qin Fengyang didn't even turn his head. As he walked slowly, his voice was extremely calm as he said, there are too many ordinary people on this street. Once the opponent knows that he is no match for them and will die, he will drag ordinary people down with him. That will be your sin. So, when you can kill with 1 blow, you must kill with 1 blow. If any ordinary person dies because of your soft-heartedness, you will feel guilty for the rest of your life. To ensure that in the future you won't. When Qin Fengyang said the first 4 words of this sentence, he was still on the ground beside Zhuo. But when he said the last few words, he was already 70 feet away and 70 feet high in the air like a meteor. Just like before, the brilliant sword light once again pierced through the sky in a flash. 3 more corpses fell from the sky in an upside-down position. While they were still in the air, their heads fell first, and a large amount of blood poured down like a waterfall. Qin Fengyang returned to Zhou Xiaoduo's side and finished the last two words of his sentence. I'm sorry. His voice was steady, calm, gentle. It was as if he did not move at all. Who are these people? Are they targeting you, teacher, or are they here to kill me? Although Zhou Xiaoduo had already guessed Qin Fengyang's intention to teach before the battle, he was still puzzled about the purpose of these two groups of enemies. They are here to kill you, but their main purpose or the real target is me. Actually, there are people around you who are protecting you. But in my heart, I have to come out and show my attitude. I also have to give the person who wants to kill me a chance. After all, he is not resigned to his fate. He will definitely try. Qin Fengyang smiled and said, I have to let him try and feel it. Zhou Xiaoduo was speechless. Try and feel the taste of attacking you? Feel the feeling of killing you? No, it's not like that. Qin Fengyang looked at Zhou Xiaoduo strangely. Don't think like that in the future, okay? Thinking like that shows that you are not confident in your own strength. It's true that I want him to try, but I want him to know that the target he wants to target is too strong. He can only feel helpless and despair. From there, he will understand a truth. Qin Fengyang smiled very elegantly. Truth? It is the truth. As a teacher, the truth I want to teach him is that in this world, there are some people he can't afford to offend. Don't think that he is rich. In this world, there are too many things that can't be done with money. Qin Fengyang raised his head and looked at a camera by the roadside. He revealed a gentle smile and showed his snow-white teeth. Don't you think so? I'm really tired. I continue to write. The next chapter should be out at night. So many things are happening at the same time. I have to take care of them all and form a line. It's really taxing on my brain. Chapter 148. Arriving at the entrance of the Zhou family's residential area, Qin Fengyang watched Zhou Xiaoduo go in, then turned around but did not go back. His black robe fluttering, he flew in a strange direction. In the darkness, bat-like shadows rose one after another in the night, chasing after Qin Fengyang. After a while, streaks of blood soared into the sky. You want to kill me? Then I'll let you kill to your heart's content. When Zhou Xiaoduo arrived home, Zhou Xiaonian had not yet returned. Zhou Xiaonian was still in Mu Yanyan's office. Opposite her was Meng Chanyu, who was being punished. Mu Yanyan's face was as calm as water. Chanyu, an entire afternoon has passed, and you refuse to say anything. I don't have the temperament to continue wasting time with you. Mu Yanyan went straight to the point. I just want to know, why do you insist on Zhou Xiaoduo dying? I really didn't, master, I really didn't mean that. Meng Chanyu's eyes were red. I can swear to the heavens. Then how do you explain your actions today? Mu Yanyan was a little tired. She went to the chair behind the desk and sat down. In her voice, there was an indescribable disappointment. At that time, Zhou Xiaoduo had the upper hand. I felt that there was no need to intervene, so I overlooked that Mu Yunfeng was hiding nearby. Well, even if you were negligent at the beginning, but after Mu Yunfeng made his move, you should have come back to your senses, right? How could you let Mu Yunfeng leave so easily? How do you explain this? I also wanted to stop him, but there were people from the second middle school chasing after us. I didn't want to expose myself. Even senior sister Nian didn't make a move until the people from second high gave up on the chase. Meng Chanyu said with extreme grievance, Master, you have to believe me. Mu Yanyan lowered her eyes. After a long time, she slowly said, let's put this matter aside for now. Chanyu, you can go back. Yes, master. From beginning to end, Zhou Xiaonian stood to the side, not saying a word. Watching Meng Chanyu leave, Zhou Xiaonian's eyes flashed with coldness. Little Nian. Mu Yanyan said tiredly, what do you think? Watching Meng Chanyu leave, Zhou Xiaonian's cold face was filled with indifference. She faintly said, Master, I am not thinking of anything. She smiled coldly. I'm really not thinking about anything. She used 2 sentences to say the same thing twice. Mu Yanyan immediately understood what she meant. Nianer, you have other ideas, don't you? Zhou Xiaonian said softly, Master, I don't think so. Mu Yanyan pondered and didn't say anything. Zhou Xiaonian suddenly switched to telepathy and said, Master, there are some things we can talk about later. The Meng clan was the one who built this building. If the Meng clan has any other intentions. Meng Chuanyu's abnormal reaction caused Zhuo Xiaonian to become completely vigilant. It was a matter of Zhuo Xiaoduo's life and death. Zhuo Xiaonian suddenly felt that the whole world was full of malice. Mu Yanyan was shocked. She suddenly raised her head and looked at Zhuo Xiaonian. For a long time she did not speak. The two exchanged glances. One was full of suspicion and vigilance, and the other was full of shock. After a while, Mu Yanyan said in a low voice, "Chuanyu is still your junior sister. Even if she has done something wrong, there is no need to be too harsh on her. Also, isn't your brother fine?" Zhuo Xiaonian hesitated for a moment and responded, "Master is right. Xiao Duo is fine, and I have no intention of continuing to pursue the matter. But Chuanyu's state of mind has not been stable during this period of time. Is it because she has progressed too much that she has developed an inner demon?" Mu Yanyan hated iron for not becoming steel and said, "If she has progressed too much, that would be great. Right now I have no idea what she is doing. I can't even see her shadow. How is it that she has progressed too quickly? And this matter is indeed strange. I will help you keep an eye on Chuanyu. You don't have to worry too much. It is normal for there to be some friction between young people. Also, Xiao Duo scolded Chuanyu too harshly at that time. Hey, your brother's mouth is really annoying." Zhuo Xiaonian hesitated and said, "But I am always worried about Xiao Duo's safety. Master, I only have one brother. He is fine this time. He is lucky, but luck will not always be with one person. Don't worry too much." Mu Yanyan promised. "Master promises you that this matter will not happen again. What if it happens again?" Zhuo Xiaonian asked. "If it happens again?" Mu Yanyan gritted her teeth and said, "If it is really determined that it was done by Chuanyu or the Meng family, I will expel Chuanyu from the sect." This sentence was already very serious. Zhuo Xiaonian did not speak again. "And by the way, since you are here, come with me to get some jade of astral souls," Mu Yanyan said. "Let's go." The window opened, and the master and disciple rushed directly into the sky and disappeared in a flash. In the sky the clouds were dense, and the wind was howling. Mu Yanyan took Zhuo Xiaonian all the way to the sky and hid in the clouds. Then she put all the communication devices she carried, including the jewelry, into the space ring. Then she turned to look at Zhuo Xiaonian. The temperature in the sky was extremely cold, but Zhuo Xiaonian was calm and collected. Her expression was as cold as ever. Mu Yanyan frowned, and the expression on her face changed. Obviously, she was struggling fiercely in her heart. She said softly, "The location of your breakthrough last time was leaked. Now it seems it should be Chuanyu who leaked it. I don't know if it was accidental or intentional." Zhuo Xiaonian's expression still did not change. Chuanyu's mood fluctuated greatly today. Mu Yanyan looked at the rolling clouds under her feet and said softly, "It's probably because some of her thoughts were exposed too suddenly, and your reaction was too intense. You fell out with her on the spot, giving her no time to mentally prepare herself. So much so that I felt a little strange." Zhuo Xiaonian pondered for a moment, but asked another question. "Master, do you feel that Meng Chuantian's feelings for me are purely the love between a man and a woman?" Mu Yanyan frowned, and, "Meng Chuantian, I'm afraid he has other intentions." Zhuo Xiaonian said, "My feelings should be right. I just don't know why his family is so hostile to our family. But no matter what, there must be a reason." Mu Yanyan was thinking, and everything that had happened recently flashed through her mind. "Master, you have met Meng Chuantian. What do you think of him?" Zhuo Xiaonian asked. "Very mature, very steady, and there is no room for criticism. Everything is perfect." Mu Yanyan said. "Performance? Well, I think so too. Master, your description is very apartment. This kind of perfection is too fake. It can only be described as performance." Zhuo Xiaonian said. "Fake? I think it's true. His speech, etiquette, steps, expression, everything is presented perfectly." Zhuo Xiaonian said. "It gives me the feeling that it's like an actor on the stage, showing his best side to the people in front of him. There is no flaw in any aspect, and there is no overdoing it in any aspect. Even his smile, no matter when, no matter what happens, is in the state of being tempered 1,000 times. This state, even if it is a senior who has cultivated for a long time, who has seen the prosperity of the mortal world, and who has experienced the hardships of the universe, it is impossible to achieve this level. Because as long as one is still human, one will retain some emotions and personal character. But Meng Qiantian has none of this. Everything is perfect. Based on my personal judgment, there is only one kind of situation in which a person can be in such a state. That is, everything is an act, something that can be faked. Zhuo Xiaonian said. Also, this person said that he is 33 years old, but I don't think so. Mu Yinyan pondered and did not speak. Zhuo Xiaonian said, Master, can you confirm Meng Qiantian's birth record? Who is his birth mother? Is it Meng Tianyue's first wife? Where did he go to school in his youth? His cultivation is not bad, and he should be an outstanding person in the martial arts school. This information should not be difficult to investigate, right? The reason why I put this on the table is that I have investigated Meng Qiantian for a long time, but I did not find any information. This is really abnormal. Even if it is a fake file, I did not find it. A person, no matter how he hides his past, even if his information is S-class secret, there are always some clues. Mu Yanyan frowned. Let me check. I hope you can check it through the Star Shield. I am afraid you can't find it through other normal channels. Yes. Mu Yanyan suddenly asked. At that time it was Xiao Duo who saw that you were about to break through, right? Zhuo Xiaonian was silent for a moment. She remembered that Zhuo Xiaoduo had now publicized her physiognomy to the world. She bit her lip and nodded. Yes. He saw that you were about to break through from your face, so you suspected that the information was leaked? Yes. That's why I asked you. What about now? He didn't say. Little Duo is currently learning the aura examination technique from Principal He Yuanyue. Seems so. This is not a secret. Xiao Duo even declared in public that his physiognomy is divine. Everyone is welcome to come to him for guidance. Mu Yinyan thought for a while and suddenly smiled. Let's go to your house and talk to Xiao Duo. Maybe we can also ask him for guidance. Okay. Speaking of Zhuo Xiaoduo, Zhuo Xiaonian suddenly became a little enraptured, and even the look on her face became a little gentler. Mu Yinyan couldn't help but smile. Nianer, you are so good to your brother. Zhuo Xiaonian took Mu Yinyan's arm and flew in the direction of her house, saying sweetly, Master, you don't know that Xiao Duo is even better to me. While flying, she took out her mobile phone. I have to talk to Dad. Mu Yinyan expressed her understanding. You have to ask your father if he will accept guests, haha. Zhuo Xiaonian smiled embarrassedly. After all, it was rare to have guests in the house for so many years. She had to ask if her father was willing to let them in. After the phone call was connected, Zhuo Chonglu readily agreed. I will wait for you to eat. At this moment, Mu Yinyan actually felt a sense of shock. Was this really what that stingy guy said? This stingy guy actually wanted to treat them. That she was exhausted both physically and mentally. Monthly votes, recommendation votes, genuine subscriptions. Thank you. Chapter 149. With Mu Yinyan's amazing cultivation at the peak of nascent soul, she was flattered by Zhuo Chonglu, who was just an ordinary person. This feeling really made Mu Yinyan feel incredible. But thinking about it, it was understandable. Thinking back, when she accepted Zhuo Xiaonian as her apprentice, Zhuo Chonglu didn't even invite her to dinner. Not to mention to have dinner at home. Compared with the past, these 5 words really gave her a lot of face. I'm waiting for you to have dinner. Xiaonian, has your father's character changed over the years? Mu Yinyan couldn't help but laugh, and she was actually very happy. No. Zhuo Xiaonian was stunned. With your father's character as a stingy rooster, he actually invited people to his house for dinner. How can it not be a big change? Mu Yinyan was a little gratified. I've taught you for a few years, and today I can finally go to your house for dinner. It's not in vain. Hearing this, Zhuo Xiaonian was a little embarrassed. To be honest, your father is really very good at living. Mu Yinyan wanted to complain, but halfway through, she remembered that she was talking to her daughter, so she sighed and said, he is a good man. Good man? Zhuo Xiaonian's pretty face was a little red, and she was inexplicably vigilant. She summoned up her courage and said, Master, my father and my mother have a very good relationship. You, and he is just an ordinary person. This. Mu Yinyan was stunned for a moment, and suddenly laughed after a long time. What are you thinking? Do you think You really know how to think blindly. My original intention was to complain that your father was a stingy person, a stingy rooster, a glazed cat, and a glazed cat covered with sugar all over. But for your sake I didn't say all of it. Why are you suspecting that I have taken a liking to her father? Look at this nervous little face. I doted on her for nothing. Is your father so good? Hissed out with a ding-dong. A message came, which interrupted Zhuoxiaonian's embarrassment. Zhuoxiaonian took out her mobile phone and looked at it, and she couldn't help but be stunned, because the message was sent by He Yuanyue. In the wee hours of the morning the clouds disperse, the phoenix turns its head. Bring Xiao Duo here. Zhuoxiaonian was shocked when she saw the message. My dog, why is it so popular today? Master Mu Yanyan wanted to see him and even took the initiative to meet him. Now even the old principal He Yuanyue wanted to see him? Thinking of this, Zhuoxiaonian couldn't help but feel proud and smug. Bullshit. Awesome. But I still have to go buy some groceries. Otherwise Dad might really just be waiting for us to eat. Zhuoxiaonian was obviously a villain in vain this time. When the two of them entered the Zhuo family's house, Wu Yuding had already prepared a large table of dishes. It was really packed to the brim. In addition, there were also 4 large pots, which were placed on the stoves that they had just bought a few days ago. There were 2 big pots of rice and 2 big pots of steamed buns. It was steaming hot and eye-catching. In order to make sure there wasn't enough food, Wu Yuding even opened 4 cans of chili oil and cut 2 large plates of pickled vegetables. The entire Zhuo family was like a small shop that specialized in selling steamed buns. The air was filled with the fragrance of steamed buns. Zhuo Duo stared at the side, rubbing his belly from time to time as he listened to the rumbling sounds coming from inside. Looking at Wu Yuding's little eyes walking around, he really looked like a hungry puppy. His eyes were blue, but he didn't dare to move and was waiting for the order to eat. Bear with it a little longer. Zhuochanglu comforted his son. Your sister Nian Nian said that she wanted to bring her master here for dinner. You can't eat now. If you start eating, there won't be anything left on the table. How can we serve the guests then? It'll be rude of us. Zhuo Duo said pitifully. Let me eat a few steamed buns first. My stomach is too flat and I'm panicking. I'm hungry. Sigh. Zhuochanglu had no choice but to raise his voice and ask Wu Yuding, are the steamed buns okay? They are okay, but they're just steamed. Wu Yuding said, the freshly steamed ones are the best to eat. This kind of steamed buns usually only require 20 servings of food. If you eat this, you'll need at least 30 servings. Bear with it a little longer. Let him eat a few servings first. Look at his pitiful eyes. Wu Yuding turned her head and saw Zhuo Xiaoduo's wet eyes. He was swallowing his saliva madly. Wu Yuding almost laughed out loud. She didn't say anything else and opened the lid of the pot. She picked up a few steamed buns and placed them on a plate. Just as she was about to bring them over, she saw Zhuo Xiaoduo had already brought his bowl over. He had already grabbed a handful of pickled vegetables in his hand. Coupled with his impatient expression, he swallowed his saliva. Wu Yuding hurriedly protected the food on the table so that the guests wouldn't be rude. She watched as Zhuo Xiaoduo threw the steamed buns into his mouth one by one. He just flattened his lips and swallowed them. In the blink of an eye they were all gone. Zhuo Xiaoduo's eyes began to wander around the lid of the pot. Mrs. Zhuo couldn't help but cover her forehead. Just how hungry are you, son? Fortunately at this moment there was a knock at the door. Zhuoxiaonian and Mu Yanyan finally arrived. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Zhuo Xiaoduo rushed up as if he had seen his savior. His enthusiasm was overflowing. Great, they were finally here. It was time to eat. Mu Yanyan didn't know what was going on. She was shocked by Zhuo Xiaoduo's enthusiasm. She smiled and said, Xiaoduo is also home. Sorry for being late. It's my honor to be your guest. Hello Mr. Zhuo, Mrs. Zhuo. She felt that she was much older than Zhuochanglu and Wu Yuding, so it was inconvenient for her to call them brother and sister-in-law. Miss Mu, you're getting more and more beautiful. Please sit down. Zhuochanglu appeared to be particularly enthusiastic. He didn't have the appearance of a miser in the legends. Instead, he was elegant and handsome. Wu Yuding looked at Zhuochanglu with a faint smile, and then warmly said, Miss Mu, please sit down. You're a rare guest. Mu Yanyan was sure that she would never forget this meal. She would remember it every night when she dreamed about it. The five of them sat around the table. Mu Yanyan saw Zhuo bring a basin over. She was surprised, but then she saw him bring another basin. Was that soup in the other basin? At first, Mu Yanyan thought that it was for washing hands, but then she saw Zhuo take a sip, and then put it on his left foot carefully. Then, "Teacher Mu, please help yourself. Don't stand on ceremony." With Zhuo Chonglu's words, Zhuo had already begun to eat. Zhuo Chonglu, Wu Yuding, and Zhuo Xiaonian, 3 people and 6 hands, quickly grabbed 6 dishes, moved aside and drank and chatted with Mu Yanyan as usual. They talked while eating, and even opened a bottle of wine. It was no different from a normal banquet. But on the other side, Zhuo ate 13 dishes by himself, including 2 pots of rice, 2 pots of steamed buns, 2 plates of pickles, and 4 cans of chili sauce. Mu Yanyan occasionally glanced at him, and only felt that she had entered a farm. Although Zhuo didn't make a lot of noise when he ate, and he wasn't smacking his lips, his eating frequency was too fast. It was like entering a silkworm breeding room. The 4 of them had only finished a third of the bottle of wine, and had only eaten a little of the 6 dishes. However, Zhuo's side was already completely clean. Mu Yanyan was present. Even someone as thick-skinned as Zhuo couldn't lick the plates. But if he didn't lick the plates, he could dip the steamed buns in the soup. The dozen plates were no worse than washing them with water. Mu Yanyan felt that she had opened her eyes today, and it was a big eye-opener. After a while, Zhuo stood up politely and glanced at the dishes on the table reluctantly. He seemed to be trying hard to control himself and said, "Take your time, I'm full." "Here you are." Zhuo Xiaonian took out a roast goose weighing 7 or 8 kilograms from the space ring and handed it to him. "Sister, you love me so much." Zhuo went back to the room with the roast goose in his arms, satisfied. Zhuo Chonglu and Wu Yuding couldn't bear to look at him. Mu Yanyan, after a moment of shock, explained with understanding, "Xiao Duo has reached the peak of martial master. Considering his age, his speed of advancement is really rare. Moreover, he reached the peak of martial master in a short time, and the energy he needs to replenish is more than that of ordinary martial masters. In fact, at the stage of martial master, the consumption of his own vital energy is higher than the replenishment of external vital energy. That's why he can't eat enough. It will be fine when he reaches the innate realm." "I hope so." Wu Yuding sighed. "We also know that martial master cultivators have high requirements for food. When Xiao Nian was a martial master, she was also at this stage. But at that time, Xiao Nian couldn't eat as much as Xiao Duo. At most, she could only eat a quarter of his food. At that time, I was very worried. Girls, if you eat like this, won't you become a pig?" "Mom." Zhuo Xiaonian blushed. She put down her chopsticks and said coquettishly, "Why are you talking about the past?" Mu Yanyan laughed and said, "Back then, Nianer asked me for fasting pills every day. She would eat the fasting pills before coming back to eat, haha." As a master, Mu Yanyan rarely saw Zhuo Xiaonian in her own home. She couldn't help but want to tease her. Wu Yuding couldn't help but smile and said, "So there is such a thing. I wronged Xiao Duo. I only talked about what Xiao Nian was like back then. Turns out that there is such a story behind it." Wu Yuding sighed. "Back then, I should have prepared 2 basins for Xiao Nian." Chapter 150. Zhuo Xiaonian finally couldn't bear it. She blushed and said, "You guys are so bad." She stood up and was about to leave, but Zhuo Chonglu stopped her. "Sit down. Why are you so rude? Your master is still here and you want to leave? If people know about this, they will think that I, Zhuo Chonglu, have no upbringing. Hurry up and sit down. Serve your master tea, pour wine and serve him well. Master, a teacher for a day is a father for life. Now and in the future you must remember this sentence. Always be the same and always be the same." Yes. Zhuo Xiaonian was obedient. Mu Yanyan looked at Zhuo Xiaonian and thought of Zhuo Xiaoduo. She couldn't help sighing with admiration and said, "Boss's education is really unique. Your son and daughter are so excellent. It's really enviable." Zhuo Chonglu said with a smile, "You flatter me. Let's drink. Ms. Mu, try this dish. This is my wife's lifelong signature dish. It tastes good." Both the host and the guest enjoyed the meal. After the meal, Zhuochanglu knew that Mu Yinyan wouldn't come for no reason. He felt that it had nothing to do with him, so he went to the study. Wu Yuding cleaned up the table and said goodbye apologetically, saying that she had to do some homework. She didn't know what homework she was going to do. Anyway, she went into the room. Anyway, she left the room to Mu Yinyan and her master. In the study, Wu Yuding smiled faintly. Is Ms. Mu beautiful? Zhuochanglu said seriously, she is just so. I think she is prettier than me. She can't even compare with the hair of yours. She is too ugly. Really? Really? Then why do you keep looking at her? Hey, she seems to have soup stuck to the tip of her nose when she was eating. I wanted to remind her, but I was too embarrassed. Oh, Wu Yuding stopped. Outside, Mu Yinyan rubbed the tip of her nose with a speechless and embarrassed face. Well, nothing. Mu Yinyan looked at Zhuoxiaonian and couldn't help feeling envious. She said, Nyener, it's really a blessing to be born in such a family and have such parents. Zhuoxiaonian nodded her head repeatedly, her eyes turning into crescent moons. The master and disciple did not delay and entered Zhuoxiaoduo's room. They saw that Zhuoxiaoduo was already panting and sweating all over. Zhuoxiaoduo was in the room. He was punching very slowly but at the same time with the most standard movements. There was not the slightest sound of wind, but every move and every style was filled with strength. Mu Yinyan nodded secretly. As the saying goes, one can know the whole leopard from a single spot. Zhuoxiaoduo obviously did this because he did not want to let go of any time to cultivate. He was really racing against time. This child is really not bad. Mu Yinyan praised him in her heart. Stop practicing. Let's talk. Zhuoxiaonian, like Mu Yinyan before, put all the communication devices, including Zhuoxiaoduo's mobile phone, into the ring. Even the computer and all the other electronic devices were all turned off and packed up. Xiaoduo, I came here mainly to ask you about the divination method, especially the thing that you saw before, that there would be obstacles when I was breaking through. Tell me the truth, and the more details the better, Zhuoxiaonian said. Okay. Zhuoxiaoduo took a deep breath. This day had finally come. After such a long time of hard work, dedication, and sparing no effort to keep reading people's faces, Mu Yinyan finally truly believed and recognized her ability. And Mu Yinyan's belief would be a great progress in his plan to save Nian Cat. This progress was extremely crucial. Previously, Zhuoxiaoduo did not think about influencing Mu Yinyan through Zhuoxiaonian. It was not difficult to do this. As long as Zhuoxiaonian acted coquettishly to Mu Yinyan, with Mu Yinyan's love for Zhuoxiaonian, it would have a certain effect. But the following problem was obvious. Mu Yinyan would not pay too much attention to these influences, at least she would not believe it. It could be imagined how difficult it was for a 16 or 17-year-old martial artist to make a nascent soul master believe in his fortune-telling. And once Mu Yinyan had a preconceived idea, then Zhuoxiaoduo's follow-up actions were bound to be extremely difficult. In that case, it would cause more trouble, and the loss would outweigh the gain. In this case, from the beginning, let Mu Yinyan believe in his divination method, and then trust every word he said. The follow-up actions would naturally be supported by Mu Yinyan. Today, the efforts that had been brewing for so long finally paid off. Xiaoduo, it is said that your fortune-telling is very accurate, and it comes true like a god. Mu Yinyan smiled and said, so this time I specially came to ask for advice. Teacher Mu, you are too polite. Zhuoxiaoduo said politely, you can ask, and I will tell you everything I know. Zhuoxiaoduo's elegant and steady appearance almost made Mu Yinyan think that the good-for-nothing she saw just now was an illusion. Tell me about Nian's tribulation first. It's better to start from the very beginning, when you saw that Nian's breakthrough would lead to her death. Mu Yinyan put on a serious attitude and said, I know that a lot of your efforts during this period of time are for this matter. Hearing this, although Zhuoxiaonian knew that they were talking about business, she still could not help but feel sweet in her heart. She looked at Zhuoxiaoduo with hook-like eyes. Hum dog. Hum my dog. Hum hum hum. In fact, Sister Nian's tribulation has always been in a state of ascension. Teacher Mu, about Sister Nian's tribulation, it can be said that it involves a lot of people. Not to mention others, because of Sister Nian's death, you are full of death aura. Zhuoxiaoduo said softly, in fact, this is not difficult to imagine. When Sister Nian breaks through this tribulation, you must be the main protector. The enemies who want Sister Nian to die will not let her go, but they will definitely target you first. Because if they can't kill you, they can't hurt her, so in this tribulation, you are the first one to bear the brunt. Mu Yinyan's beautiful face was calm. Then in your opinion, what is my ending? Zhou Xiaoduo sighed. He looked at Mu Yinyan and Zhou Xiaoyan's faces with rapt attention. The master and disciple were almost the same now. Dark clouds covered the sky. Bad luck filled the air. Death aura. Murderous intent. Although it wasn't as certain as before, but it was still a great ominous sign with a slim chance of survival. It would be difficult to escape with one's life. However, what made Zhou Xiaoduo even more puzzled was Zhou Xiaoyan's physiognomy. After an aura of death, could it be that things will move in the opposite direction when they reach an extreme? This situation was like after the sky was full of dark clouds, there was not only a clear sky but also 10 suns in the sky. Zhou Xiaoduo could be sure that after Zhou Xiaoyan passed this tribulation, she would have a bright future. However, this was different from the sky full of dark clouds. The dark clouds would disperse sooner or later, but she might not be able to pass the tribulation. If she couldn't pass the tribulation, Zhou Xiaoyan would still die. However, now that he could see the purple aura, Zhou Xiaoduo was already very satisfied, because there was no such thing before. In other words, the previous Zhou Xiaoyan had no future. Now, although the tribulation was still there, the future was promising. I've already seen your ending. On the day of Sister Nian Nian's breakthrough, you fought to the death in order to protect Sister Nian Nian. Zhou Xiaoduo sighed. Mu Yinyan's expression did not change, but her eyes flickered. What about your sister? Because she was disturbed during the breakthrough, she died of qi deviation. Zhou Xiaoduo's cheeks twitched, and he said, now there are 51 days before the breakthrough time I foresee. Well, today is over, there are 50 days left. Mu Yinyan sat calmly and asked softly, I have 2 questions now. I need you to answer them directly. Please ask. The result you foresee, is it fate or luck? Mu Yinyan asked. If it is fate, is there a way to change fate? If it is luck, is there a way to reverse the universe? Zhou Xiaoduo was silent for a long time and said, it is fate and luck. What do you mean? Sister Nian's tribulation is not destined to be a death tribulation. In other words, if she can break through the tribulation, she will be able to rise to the top. That is to say, one who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune in the future. Zhou Xiaoduo said softly, since it is a tribulation, there are 2 possibilities, one is to pass and the other is not to pass. Naturally, there is no such thing as fate. But for now it is very difficult to change, isn't it? Mu Yinyan asked. Zhou Xiaoduo said in distress, I have thought of using variables to affect this tribulation. That is, I told Sister Nian that she would be in danger when she broke through. She believed me and communicated with you about this. But now, I unexpectedly found that the breakthrough day after 50 days has become the moment of eternal death. And there is no way to change it. I am puzzled about this. Why can't the breakthrough date be changed? Isn't it normal to advance or postpone it? Mu Yinyan was stunned when she heard this. Mu Yinyan had not considered this problem at all. Although she knew the time of Zhou Xiaoyan's breakthrough, she had already considered the possibility of advancing or postponing it. In fact, she had thought of changing the time of Zhou Xiaoyan's breakthrough again, and using the time to affect the tribulation. At this moment, when she heard Zhou Xiaoduo suddenly ask this question, she was stunned and murmured, the breakthrough date can't be changed? Who said it can't be changed? How can it become the moment of eternal death? Only Zhou Xiaoyan's delicate body shook violently, and her bright eyes flickered. Mu Yinyan immediately found that something was wrong. She turned her head and asked, Nian? Zhou Xiaoyan gritted her teeth and said, about this. I went to see Headmaster He the other day and heard her talk about it. I am destined to break through, and once I break through, it will involve the Phoenix Vein of Phoenix City. It is said that it is related to the soul of the Phoenix Vein. Is this the reason why it can't be changed? In the afternoon, the leader will update. Also, brothers and sisters who have received the divine light, please join the group 1090 number 866 at 686. Why don't you join the group after receiving the divine light? Do you want me to give it to you?